Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane, and I'm here with Bella. She might look like Sherry or Overprotected, and if you think that, you would be right because it is her. What's up, my paranormal frequencies, buddy?
Hey. Yeah, my grandsons call me Bella. My family calls me Bella. So it's kind of caught on like that.
Yeah, we actually talked about that in the other video, how it came from abuela, right, grandma,
Right. Yes.
and right.
Yeah,
Okay,
it kind of
so
evolved.
I got to tell you guys, we had a blast today. We got to go meet Rex Bear of Leak Project. He invited Sherry on to share some of her story.
Mhm.
There, of course, there's so much there. We didn't have time to unpack it all, but he was such a great guy to have us on there, welcome us on, and he's just as cool off air as he is on air. And for you guys that don't know, um, I was watching Leak Project for a couple of years before I ever started my own channel. So he was a huge inspiration for me. Thinking, man, that looks like a lot of fun to interview people and to look into all this stuff. And I was really impressed at how open-minded he was and
Mhm.
objective, and also considered positive things and stuff like that. And also, anybody who's heard my whole Mandela effect story, it was on his channel that Joseph Reyna was on there when I first, like, I knew about the Mandela effect for a year, but then I saw that and I was like, no, that's scripture. And I thought for sure he was mistaken about the lion and the lamb in Isaiah 11:6. And when I looked it up and it didn't say lion and lamb anymore, it said the wolf shall dwell with the lamb. I was like, oh no, man. So anyway, that's sort of what started my whole thing. So it was great to finally meet Rex Bear of Leak Project. And thank you, Sherry, for letting me tag along with you while you were doing your
Mm.
presentation.
No, no, I needed you to tag along with me because you did the whole PowerPoint and you helped me edit the videos. And when I even put them on my channel for a second to make sure there was no copyright issues, and the whole thing is on there sideways, I'm like, man, so thankful for you. Thank you.
No problem. It really was my pleasure. And, I had kind of been following this story all along anyway, and it's
Yeah,
extremely complicated because there's so many cogs in the machine, right? But
right.
I think it's really, I hear stories from people all the time of all the synchronicities they're experiencing,
Mhm.
things that maybe happened as a child and now they're sort of making sense. It's like almost like something
Right.
was, and we've called it that before, echoes from the past, right? Like there's these
Yes.
things from the past. Like for me, the Milton, the Early Riser book was one that,
Yes.
it just didn't make sense my whole life. And then it meant so much to me in 2017 when I began to awaken that it brought tears to my eyes to think back at that book and be like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm going through. And it was like
Yeah.
one of those like universal signs to let you know, like, this has always been the plan. And a lot of people are seeing things like that. So what I love about this
Right.
particular story that we didn't get to unpack the whole thing with Rex, but just because it's so much there.
But
Uh,
we get to do a part two, so that's
yeah,
good.
yeah, that's
But
cool.
I wanted it kind of all together. Right.
Right, yeah. And we can spend a little bit more
Thank
time
you.
here with it and talk about it because there is quite a bit to unpack. And so let's get into it. How are
Well,
you doing, by the way?
good. I wanted to add something to what you said really quick though, because I have just noticed within the last couple of days that like my second grade was very, very, I don't know how to explain it. It was something important. It was horrible. But of course, okay. So real quick, that was the class that I was reading the Berenstein Bears out loud, and I had Laura Seinfeld in class. I hope she sees this one day because I've said her name so many times. That girl, I haven't seen her in probably more than 40 years. Wow. And so I said Berenstein, and the teacher was like, it's Berenstein. That was when I learned the EI thing, ein or een. But I was so upset and I cried because I was very sensitive. So that was a big thing. Then she she's the one that told me that there was no such thing as Santa Claus. And she acted like I was a baby because I still believed. And then for me, Santa Claus is a Mandela effect because the E fell off for me. It used to have an E on the end. And everybody will say, "You're thinking of the Santa Claus movie." No, I'm not. I'm talking about Santa Claus all the time. Even my friend April at work feels the same way and all that. Another thing, I was in, we used to get a weekly reader. I don't know if any of y'all remember that, but in second grade, I'm sitting there, they hand out the weekly reader, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "That's my grandma." And I'm like, "That's my grandma." And she's like, "That is not your grandma." And I'm like, "Yes, it is. It's my grandma." And she was like, "You're lying," and all this stuff. And I'm like, "No, that's my grandma." My grandma was the turtle lady of Long Beach, California. And so ultimately, I went to the principal's office, called my mom to go home and check out because I was crying. And my mom, was like, "That is her grandma." That goes, well, eventually they made her apologize to me by putting an ad in the paper. And it said, like, "That's my grandma," shouted Miss girl in Miss Richmond's second grade class. And, so they wrote a little article about it and all that stuff. But to me, all of a sudden was said, I was kind of looking at that flat earth stuff and everything, and I was like, with the turtle and the firmament and all that, and I was like, wow, it's crazy that my grandma had this turtle haven, and she was the turtle lady of Long Beach, California, kind of like a little museum thing at her house, and all these live turtles, over 5,000. Anyway, there was even more stuff. It was how I learned word association, which I won't get into because it's kind of bad. But I was learning the capitals in their states, and I didn't like her, so I used her name was Miss Richmond. Anyway, I we'll just leave it at that. But there was so many of these big things right in second grade. I'm sorry, but I had to point that out. It's kind of strange. I
No,
was
no, that's
7.
great. So just for everyone to keep in mind, because we all see the numbers, we all have the synchronicities of even things that seemingly don't connect, and even on within this journey, and we'll point that out. You can see how when she was sharing some of her stuff, it was like going along with things I was getting at the time, and they sort of meshed a little bit. But we'll get into that with the warrant and the Warren Commission about midway through the presentation. But without further ado, let me share the screen here. Of course, you guys already know. Let me see. Get the right window. There we go. Now I need to click. I want to make sure you guys see everything clearly. Yeah, okay. You guys are seeing everything. The three
Yeah.
of us. Okay.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So, yeah, so everybody knows you here, of course, as Sherry, but you're going as Bella now.
Well, it's
And
not really that. It's just kind of whatever it is. So it's cool, whatever. But if you hear Bella in something, that's me in this presentation. I'll
right,
just say it like
right.
that.
So, to recap some of this stuff, why don't you go through and maybe tell us about how it all started for you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just realized recently, I've always started my whole story by saying, in about 2010, this is what started my, I guess, what you call my awakening. My nephew came to me because I was the cool aunt, of course. No, I'm kidding. And he's like, "Aunt Sherry, I've been having out of body experiences." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's the devil." And because I was very Baptist at the time. So I'm like, before I answer him, I'm gonna like go through the Bible and stuff. And of course I found the scriptures, like, whether I was in the body or out of the body, I know not, but I saw this, that, and the other, and many more. And ultimately I came to the conclusion that all of the people in the Bible that were having these spiritual experiences were in altered states of consciousness. So I became very fascinated with this. And as I was searching for him, though, I was online on the internet and I clicked on a link about out of body, and it took me to my very first YouTube video ever. And that was Art Bell, and he was interviewing Albert Taylor on his book Soul Traveler, which I want to thank you for letting me have the opportunity to get to interview him with you, because he's like my hero.
Oh, yeah, I
And
love Albert. He's awesome. Yeah.
yeah, he really is. And so yeah, I listened to that thing and I was hooked. I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna start trying to do this and everything." I went to the Monroe Institute at Robert Monroe, and I'd read all of his books, Journey Out of the Body and Far Journeys and all of those. And I mean, I learned so much. And I love Robert Monroe. I know there's FOIA documents that have been put out on the gateway process, and I'm here to tell you that there's nothing bad about it that I can see. Of course, I did learn that like other people could come see you, but you can put up shields and all that stuff.
I think it's kind of
Anyway,
more of a thing where it's like a tool that can be used different ways, you know. But I think we are
right.
limited when we try to use it in a selfish way, is what a lot of the people explain.
Yep. Robert Wagner claims that like when he was trying to like knock hats off people while going down the street, that something like grabbed his arm and like stopped him. And he was like, whoa, he realized that, you know, wait a minute, maybe I'm not the boss around here, when he was like out of body, or, it was lucid dream out of body. And so then we come to in 2012, and everyone knows this, but just to reiterate, if someone's new, in 2012, I had went to sleep, and all of a sudden, well, I mean, I don't think I really got to sleep all the way. All of a sudden, a portal opened up by my bed. It was blue. Michael Jackson was in it. And I always preface the story by saying, if I was going to see a dead celebrity, it would be Jani Lane from Warrant or Steve Clark from Def Leppard. Because, I mean, it wasn't that I didn't like Michael Jackson or anything, but I was just kind of a rock girl. We'd used his music on some dance team stuff, but I had never really been a big fan or purchased his things or anything like that. But I was a fan of his humanitarianism, and I'll always fight for his innocence. Shout
Yeah.
out to Tom Mesereau. Sorry.
So, yeah, and I want to remind everyone that might not remember when you first came to me with all of these Michael Jackson synchronicities, and we did this video here at the bottom,
So
which
awesome.
I'll add a link under this. So if you guys haven't seen it,
Please.
please take a moment and go check it out because it's amazing. And after she shared it with me, I was like in the bathroom shaving like the next day, and I was hearing this bass line in my head. Doom, 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 doom. I'm like, what is that? What is that? And I figured it out after a while. It was Michael Jackson's "Can You Feel It?" And I hadn't heard it in a long time, and it just started playing in my head, and I was like, "Oh my God, can you feel it?" And then I got chills because I knew Michael Jackson was actually coming through to me and like validating your story, right? Because I wasn't thinking about Michael Jackson in that moment. I had no idea what that song even was for a moment. So the way it came to me, where I had to figure it out, let me know that
Yeah.
I didn't just like hear it recently and it was playing back. It was actually a song message, and he
Yeah.
knew I would get it just from the beat and the bass line. That's so funny, and I worked it out just from that. But yeah, that came through at that time. So I'll put a link below to Michael Jackson Contact from the Afterlife. It really is. That was 4 years ago. Wow, Sherry, it's been a while.
Right. I still have synchronicities with him every day. And I'll tell one quick story because this is just so cool. I had a nurse start working at my work, and I always tell everybody my stuff, and she was like, I'm scared of Michael Jackson. I think it bothered him. And I think she was meant to come there because what happened was the very first thing was I was calling the pharmacy. They put me on hold. Man in the Mirror was just started playing. And she had ran to get coffee. And I was like, man, I hope she hurries up. We'd hung up. So I came up with a way like I was going to call back because it was about to close the pharmacy. This is 3 to 11 shift. I was like, maybe I can get him to, let it play some more. So anyway, she comes back and I called back and I said, look, can I just hold until the guy comes to pay or whatever? And he's like, yeah, sure. He puts me on hold. So when she comes back, I let her hear the phone, and Man in the Mirror was playing. And she was like, wow. Well, her son had texted her earlier that day. She was in a position like in Walmart or somewhere it wouldn't play. So she comes to me later and she's like, oh my gosh, my son sent me a video from college in another state. And he was like dancing like Michael Jackson to Michael Jackson music. And she's like, he used to do that when he was little, but he doesn't do it anymore. This is so weird. A little bit later, we went outside, and one of the patients had some music playing like they don't always do this either. They've maybe done it 20 times since I worked there in 4 years. And it was just blasting overhead. And it sounded like Michael Jackson, but I don't know all his music. I still don't. And I said, who is that? And the guy's like, well, you don't know who that is? Well, that's Michael Jackson. You should know who Michael Jackson is. And this girl is like, what? And anyway, she ended up getting another job that was like better for her with, some different benefits and stuff. And so, and I was really happy for that. And I couldn't help but think that she really passed through there just for that. Because I know Michael's with her. There a lot of things with her kids and stuff going on that I know that he just wanted to connect with her, and she was so afraid of him.
Right.
So, yeah, it's really neat how he does.
Right. In the same way with Jani, he came through with a
Correct.
special message. Even we need to talk about him coming through with the
Yeah.
radio saying thank you. Isn't that odd that it's the same exact words he said on the video we're going to share later? You know what I mean? So we'll get into that. I
Right.
hadn't made that connection yet. Had you
Yeah.
made that connection yet?
You mean whenever I heard him through my car stereo?
Right.
Right. When I just finished reversing Nevaeh, I was driving to work. I was listening to it. It must take exactly the length of the song because when I pulled up in my parking place, it ended. And through my car speakers, I heard, thank you. And of course, I know his voice. And I was like, what? And it was like nowhere on my iTunes or anything. So
So you heard
I
him
knew it.
audibly through the speakers in your car as if there was like a vocal track on the MP3 or that he said it
Right.
at the end of the song or something. And it just
Right.
comes
Right.
right out your speakers and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah. And I'm telling y'all that this time, when he asked, I got a little download that he wanted to reverse down voice, and he said thank you on the transcripts
Yeah,
in the middle where there's
yeah.
nothing. But then when I went back to play it for my mom, she had touched the screen, messed it up. So when I started over, it said thank you again at the top on the transcripts.
Let's go ahead and
And
start
I was
that now.
like,
You
he's
want to
telling me
let's
thank
show
you.
that now. Since we're
Okay.
talking about it.
Yeah, it's so
Let's just bring
fun.
it in because this is really cool, you guys.
It made me cry. Like I literally bawled about this because I could feel him around me. He's
Yeah.
very thankful. Very thankful.
So this is on a video that she's already uploaded on her channel, and we saw this when we turned the closed captioning on. Let me share the tab. That way you guys can get the sound. Okay, let's go. All right. So, and let me make this bigger. And,
This was his message for the Leak Project people. So,
right.
but the audience of this story is what I believe he meant.
Right. So we were going on Leak Project, and you asked if Jani had a message for the Leak Project audience. Is that how it
No,
went?
no,
No,
no.
no.
He was all I could get was down boys. We're the down boys. So I knew I mean reverse it. And when I was like, oh man, the down boys go. What's he talking about? Like hell, you'll see on the video. I kind of struggled with it a minute, and then when I reversed it, I knew what it was. I mean, he was letting me know then that it was a message for the audience.
Look at it on the
Really
screen right
cool.
now. Let's see. It's at 0, and it already says thank you on the screen. That's different.
It didn't do that before.
Did you see that, Sherry?
No, is that a third thank you? Maybe
It
it's
said
gone.
thank you.
It's
We got
gone.
proof. It's gone. Did you see how it was at 0, but it said thank you on the screen?
Yes, I
You
saw
guys, we
it.
just had some paranormal stuff happen. Now watch this. And this goes right along to validate what she was already saying. I'm just going to let this roll and we'll talk about it.
I think it's so interesting that this song.
Okay, that's the first thank you. Did you see this
Yeah.
thank you just appeared out of nowhere?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
I love it.
All right, and then how does it end? Let's listen to this.
Says, can we rewind to where we've been? Considering that Janice said,
That's
looking
forward.
forward in time, back in time. The Christ AD and BC, time going forward and backward, in the middle is 0. And then him saying, can we rewind to where we've been? But anyway, I got a message from Jani before I did Leap Project for a message for the Leap Project audience. And I was like, oh my God, because it was down boys, where the down boys go. And I'm like, man, like, because I always question stuff. And I'm like, oh God, like, is this negative or something? But I don't think he is being negative. He's always being positive. So let's try this here.
Oh,
and what we're going to hear is my words don't lie to them.
very
you.
clearly. And then there's a thank you at the end. That was
And it
not
doesn't
there.
even
It
say
just pops up
no.
on the screen. And you
Yeah.
saw when I first went to this, it was at 0 and it already said thank you on there a third time. And I
Yeah.
tried to go make
Mm,
it pop back up and it didn't. So
I'm
that's totally
lovely.
paranormal to me. I don't know. That was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's almost done. You can finish it.
Okay.
Because I think I said
I
something nice.
always know that my words are made for them, and my words won't lie to them. That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
My
I'll
wo-
just go back a little bit.
That's it.
I always know that my words are made for them, and my words won't lie to them. That's pretty beautiful.
That is beautiful. And actually, that's exactly what we're going to get into. What words are we talking about here, right? So I think that's, I'm glad we could hop to that and show that because that was amazing. That was like the cherry on the top, right? Of the,
Yeah.
it was
That's
like,
what Rex said. We had to stop halfway through, and it was like a cherry pie thing. And he's like, "We can leave. This is the cherry on top." It's
that's
kind of
right.
neat.
Very
I'm
good.
hoping with this video, maybe something horrible of him will fly by or something, or maybe he'll come sit by me. Who knows?
That'd be cool. We'll
Yeah.
get it all on tape if that happens. Let's go back to the PowerPoint
I
here.
think I literally just saw an orb, but we'll look at it later.
All right, we're back up.
There he is.
So this is it. Jani Lane, and for you guys that don't know, Jani Lane is the lead singer of the original Warrant now, and yeah, we got our shirts on. Cherry pie guy.
Poor
Sorry.
Jani.
I love that. We got a clip that you guys are gonna love,
Yeah, the
or
whole
I
thing's
loved it.
beautiful.
It makes me crack up every time. So yeah, Jani Lane is going to be a huge part of this. He's been coming through for Sherry, as well as the Mandela Effect. All you Mandela Effect fans, we're going to see how this could all be pointing to some sort of simulation because of the retro causality and the way this reverse speech is just magically. I mean, he's basically singing backwards and forwards. And what you've come to discover is that it's not just here and there, like, okay, so there's
Everything.
backmasking when people put stuff in like on purpose. And then there's, you were telling me before about like the muse that might come through in a song and you'll just hear like a word or two, right? Or through a famous presidential speech, right? But something like that, where it's like it comes through. But this isn't just a word here or there. This is like almost continuously, forwards
Yes.
and backwards. So anyway. What do you have to say? I didn't mean to take up all the information.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that I played with this a little bit when I was little. My little brother's Fisher Price tape player when you push play in reverse at the same time and play backwards. And me and this dude hung out a whole summer just listening to stuff backwards. Like we found the Led Zeppelin thing and we did Prince and stuff like that. And so I was investigating way back then. But the big thing was when I started listening to Coast after I watched that first YouTube video, I got to say this. It's so important. I thank you for the time. Whenever my grandson was a baby, he was a little bit, his voice was, after his 15-month shot, he regressed some and he just did not have a clear voice. And I had heard David Oates on Coast to Coast, and he had said that, that children that are like maybe slow, like mentally retarded, or even babies are speaking in reverse speech. And he shows an example. He had twins, and one of them dropped a cup out of the tub and was like goo goo gaga, and he recorded it and backwards because he's sitting on the toilet, and the baby says, "David, help me, like pick my damn cup up," And so it's really interesting. And I was like, he was making an app. I couldn't wait for it to come out. He said it'd be out in like 6 months. I checked like every week, every 2 or 3 weeks, whatever. Finally came out. I always babysat my grandson, but he happened to be home right when I got it. So I had an iPad and my phone, and I called him on the phone and was recording it with the iPad. And my daughter's like, "Here, Wyatt, Bella wants to talk to you." And he gets on the phone and everything, and he's goo-gooing and gaga, and I'm talking to him and all this to rev him up, and he's just blabbering. Well, we get off the phone. I've never heard my grandson speak a fluent word at this point. And I turn it on, and he says, hello. Appropriately, we were on the phone. Hello, Bella. And I was like, wow, blown away. People tell the truth in reverse speech. So that's fun if you want to reverse your boyfriend or something. And also, like I said, the children thing, like people and adults that can't speak well, that kind of, it'll say backwards like mama and stuff. It's really awesome.
Awesome.
I had to
Absolutely.
insert that.
Yeah. And let's talk about Janice. That's a good point.
Okay. Yeah. Janus is the god of beginnings and endings, keys, gates, transition, time duality, doorways, portals, and passages. And what's cool is he's got two faces, and one is facing forward in time, one's facing backwards in time. The center is called the Janus point, which there's a book came out by a physicist named Julian Barber called the Janus point, which I'm about to dig into. But the point is the point is that is kind of like what I call like the neutrogenesis place. I learned that because my Neutrogena kept glitching and keeps filling up because they don't make it no more, and I love it. Anyway, my point is I think that's kind of the point of creation. We're gonna get into more of that. Okay, so this is something I started noticing this code running throughout my life, and it is like my childhood home address, 801 Lincoln, which is a president. Keep that in mind. My current address, 215, 8. My birthday is 5/12. That adds to 8. I'm 53 right now. That's 8. My family birthdays, I have like a 4/22 is an 8, a 4/13 is an 8. My oldest daughter, Kayla, 11/18/88. My brother Danny, who died when he was 4, is on 11/8, and my dad died on 8/8. And I know we keep giving you this, but I love it. Let's see old Chuck. This is my dad. You can notice he has that black glasses on the top of his thing. He always gave lectures on safety and stuff. He helped the fire department get all kind of grants and all. Well, my mom, after he passed away, she saw this mist floating through the room, and she's like, if I don't take a picture of this, Sherry's going to kill me. So she takes the picture. And when I look at it, I said, look, it looks like Daddy's peeping through the bookshelf. Well, then Darby saw it, and she's like, no, Mom, he's sitting in a chair. And you can see on the flower that it's kind of fogged out, the second flower down with the pink center and the brown around it. And as you move down to the picture, on the left side, like with coming at you, there's a snout of my dad had basset hounds. He loved them, Brandy and Blossom. And it's a snout of a basset hound. And you can see the eye really good. And if you screenshot this and zoom in on that eye, it looks so real. But there's a new thing I want to show everybody because I noticed it, but it didn't have significance. My dad was starting to show me that the 8's coming in because as you go down the dog on his little hip bone, there is a clear number 8. And then you can see his tail kind of swoop up to under that shelf that my dad's on. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I want to
that's
point out
amazing.
because as I was looking at this, the more you look really good, you can see how his thumb is almost covering the eye.
Yeah, yeah, his
Look at
hand's on the head of the dog.
right. So his arms out of view on the other side of the head, but his hands like resting right on the dog's head right here, and you can
Mhm.
see the thumb and you can see the fingers like right over here. Let me get that out of the way there. This little shaded part is like the shaded area between like the first finger and the thumb there. Can you hold on me?
Yeah,
Uh,
I do. I
I
see
know
it,
you
but
see it, but I know a
so
lot of people. And like
I
she
see
said,
it.
if
I
you can
see it.
screenshot it, move in, you'll see that like that 8 is perfect. Like what the heck is that? So perfect.
Right. And I thought I was just, like kind of thinking of it as infinity. And then also he had died 8/8. So, that's how kind of I was looking at it.
Yeah.
But when I started doing the Janie stuff, I realized how these 8s and 11s were just running rampant in my reality.
Right. And
And,
if you guys
it's
didn't
starting to get
notice the glasses there and there,
it's
um,
so crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, look, okay, so I got this 811 running in my reality. Maybe it is some kind of simulation, but I'm not saying about the divine creator could have, I mean, like they have the book of numbers and stuff. Maybe that's how God coded it. I mean, words are, what creates when we speak. So, like, maybe the numbers, well, there's gematria and all that. It runs deep. But I do believe that this could be a coded reality. And that is why I'm talking about this numbers here.
Right.
But they also become very synchronistic in a minute, too. But they are right here. So, all right. So, Janie's actual date death. This is the guy we're talking about. Jani Lane from the band Warrant died on 8/11/11. I'm gonna throw in that he died on 8/11/11 in room 118, and he was 47, which is also an 11. Okay. And Michael Jackson's birthday is on 8/29. The 2 and the 9 is 11, which might seem like I'm stretching it until this story carries on a little bit. So just to remind everybody, I'm only going to say a little bit, but when that portal opened up by my bed, he was like, come on, hurry up. And I'm like, I'm really going to go in a portal with somebody. Huh. I'm just laying there looking at him. And pretty soon he rushes back up to the front of the portal and he says, look, it's okay. It's okay. They're just not ready yet. And it turns into a little blue star and blinks out. And so I was like, whoa. And then a couple weeks later, I was taken into an out-of-body experience, and I'm right before him, and I was so not a fan. I was telling everybody he had on his bad jacket, but it was his Thriller jacket. But my daughter's like, Mom, that's his Thriller jacket. I'm like, oh, okay. But he put his hands on each of my shoulders, and he said, Sherry, you need to focus. You need to remember who you are. And that was when I said to him, like in this childlike voice, I was like, and I saw an angel. I really didn't know the significance of that. And the next day when I woke up, talking about, he started already physical manifestational synchronicities were everywhere. And my Twitter said, and I had a screenshot of this long ago, it's probably on my photo bucket, but it said, Michael Jackson and Ghost Adventures is now following you. And I wasn't subscribed to either one. And it was just so cool. It was scary at first, but I was like, okay. But I mean, to me, I've never had a negative encounter with him. A lot of people will say, oh, you better watch out, spirit communication and all. But I'm telling you, he led me to meditate and pray for satanically ritually abused children. I started experiencing psychic attacks, which now I call kind of initiations. I got stronger, more powerful. And between like Shane and Eileen and this group and everything, I started to learn to do it a different way and focus kind of on the outcome more than the actual events. And, it's been a little beautiful journey. And I've never had anything bad, only help with him. Now, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes he'll laugh at me and stuff, but I mean, like that, hey, everyone laughs at me. We're just all having fun here. But yeah, that I only am putting that in to show you're gonna see a lot of connections to Michael and Janie stuff. And I'll point all those out as we roll along here. So I went to the Mandela Effect conference on 11/8. So that's so crazy. It just gets me every time. But anyway, that is my brother's birthday that died when he was 4. And I had listened to the song a couple times that morning while I was like, fixing my hair and all at the hotel. And then we're driving there, and like I'm about to roll up in there, and we're like playing it. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a minute. It's not saying face in the sky anymore. It's saying faith. All right. Roll that beautiful beam footage.
All right. Get it going here. Hey everybody, we're here at the Mandela Effect Conference, and Sherry experienced her own Mandela Effect today. I want to talk to you about it. Tell us about today is a special day, on top of being the Mandela Effect Day, but
today is my brother Danny, who passed away, his birthday, and so the song by Elton John, Daniel, is like our song. So in dedication of him, I was playing it today, and I noticed the lyrics had changed, where it said, Daniel, you're a star in the face of the sky. It now says faith. And even if you look up the lyrics on Google, it still says faith. And when you can clearly hear, if you play the song, that he's saying faith now.
Yeah, I heard it myself, and it's just amazing because here you got your own personal Mandela effect that everyone can go listen to for themselves.
Yeah.
And it was on a special day, your brother's birthday. He passed away when he was 4, right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So yeah, everybody, probably a lot of people have already seen that, but that is amazing to see again.
I love that video.
Yeah,
Anytime I get down, I can watch those, and it makes me so happy.
that's wonderful. So let's talk about the Mandela and the Mandorla. Let me get it up on the screen here. Let's see. All right. Here we go.
Okay. So a lot of people probably heard me in the community on like call-ins and stuff like that, that I don't think it should be called the Mandela effect, because I know now Nelson Mandela has a Mandela effect, but as I learned on Shane's show long ago, if you move that A to the front of the Mandela, it spells Almondel, which is the almond shape and or almond. And as you can see, this was a perfect card. I picked this card because it actually is a Janus card with the two faces, but really I'm showing the Vesca Pisces, the like vaginal shape opening. And what it is it'll represent like old Christian art like William Henry presents. It's like a stargate. You'll see like Jesus, Mary coming out of this stargate into our reality or something, which I'll talk about more when we get to like the Merkaba part. But
I'd
okay,
also, before you move to Mandela, I wanted to point out the fact that it's also, people like the idea of two spheres coming together to create the Vesca Pisces shape, and they feel like it's like two realities coming together, right? And this
yeah,
blending of the two realities. So you're kind of in this, what do you call those, Venn diagrams or whatever, when they overlap, the area of two realities overlapping, right? So I
right.
think that's kind of another way, like the heavenly realms and the earthly realms overlapping, and that's why we're seeing it come through this shape. You know what I mean?
Might be the Janus point. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So the mandorla is what that this Pisces type shape is actually called when you see Christ or Mary or whatever coming through it.
And if you put the
And
A at the beginning of Mandela, if you move the A
I
from the end to the beginning, you have Amandel, which is an almond
I,
in German, I think, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
that's cool. Anyway, so the mandala, we all know what a mandala is, but I love the definition of this. A sigil powered by intention to make a change in the universe or cosmos. And I know a lot of people like to talk Mandela effect theory. I know a lot of it is done by our creator, maybe even us from the future or something, and with retro causality. But sometimes I think it's possible that maybe there's some rituals being done to cause some that would be like brand names or something. But I don't know, and I like the messages that people get in them. So I'm just throwing that out there as theory. But it is kind of like the word, it's real. If you look at etymology, it's very close to Mandela.
Absolutely. And also, when we had Angela on, she was showing, the sand and the mandalas they were creating with the sand, those
Yes.
beautiful sigils.
Hmm.
And then they like blow it all or sweep it all together and, I don't know, blow it away or
Mess it
something.
all up. Yeah, I saw. I actually saw that. We put it on the Michael Jackson video, actually.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay, this is the new thing that I learned. Actually, Nathan is the one that told me that Mary Magdalene was from a city called Amygdala. And I verified that and everything. Not that I need to verify his work. I just wanted to find a video on it and stuff, and I did. But the amygdala are two glands, and it's interesting because they're on each side of the brain near the temple. And what they are is the fight or flight. If you're exposed to fear, it cortisol pumps out, stimulates these, and you go into the fight or flight mode. And I can't help but think that, I'm putting in all perspectives here. So let's pretend that there is something nefarious behind some of these things. Some people, not us, because we've kind of been slowly put into the Mandela effect. But if it hit you and you're like, wow,
My
it
reality's
could scare
changing.
you.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty freaky at first. I mean, even for me, I didn't get
Yeah.
into fear for that much time, but sure, I was like, man, is this CERN? What the heck is going on?
Mhm.
Like I
Mhm.
thought CERN before I heard anyone else say that because of that show Flash Forward that I'd seen where this weird event happened, and it felt real sci-fi. So sure, there was a scary element, but on the other hand, it was very exciting, and especially now it's been 5 years of feeling safe. Nothing's happened, other than reality shifting in an impossible way. So, I feel more relaxed about it now.
And some beautiful messages coming out from the community.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I want to point out like Eugene Green, and there's just all the people. I even noticed recently. I was like, tick Kit Kat backwards is kind of like tick tack or tick tock, like time, and then it's the dash, and if you dash, that's like fast, and then also it literally spells backward tactic,
Right,
like tactic. Like
right.
I don't know, there's a lot you can find in them. So
Yeah.
those are fun, like a puzzle.
Well,
That's
let's
why I
get
love
into
the
this.
puzzle on y'all book. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. The let's get into the warrant Mandela
Okay.
effect.
All right. So a lot of people don't really recognize this one because this is from a band in the late 80s. It's kind of who we're doing this thing about. The lead singer, Jani Lane, he was the lyricist for almost all of their music in the beginning. And my daughter, Darby, had contacted me and she's like, Mom, this Warrant CD has changed. And I was like, What do you mean? And she's like, Well, it used to be spelled Warrent. And I didn't quite remember at first. But she's like, Mom, no, I'm telling you, because when I saw it, she's so observant. And she's like, in her mind, right then, when she saw it back when, she's like, okay, so it's like warrant, like a warrant for arrest, but they got an E. Okay. Now, that's how her mind works. Well, she's cleaning out behind her dresser, and we're big lucid dreamers. So we're always putting notes all over to remind us to do reality checks. And a little Am I Dreaming right there. I was like, that's a classic picture. Am I, am I Dreaming? And then the warrant CD and all. But yeah, so she came to me with that, and I didn't remember at first. And as time went on, I was like, man, she's right. Because I started to remember. I had a dual memory at first, and then I was like, oh, yes, it was. It was. So, okay. Um, I started searching for residual after Darby came to me with that. The very first, when I was on the internet, the first thing that caught my attention, not residual wise, but it caught my attention. It said Jani Lane back from the dead. Well, of course, I'm gonna click on that, right? So I click on it, and they had made a post mortem CD. And of course, so I'm the one that gets scared a lot. So I had the little negative spin on catch a falling star, right? And so we can point out right here how that J and that L looks like the Janus, like both sides pointing
Yep,
that way, but just pointing
absolutely.
that out. But anyway, it said the first line in the article said this: Jani Lane, born John Kennedy Oswald. And on the right, we have, kind of a proof picture for everyone to see that that was his real name. It was John Kennedy Oswald.
So
So,
yeah, so for anybody who maybe not familiar or whatever, so you have the whole JFK thing, um, and the guy who supposedly took him out from the book depository was Oswald, right? So
right.
his last name was the person that supposedly took out his first and middle name, John Kennedy. That's strange. And he was
It is
born. What
strange.
what was the dates? Because there was something interesting
Okay.
about that.
So JFK died on 11/22 of 63. So there's ones, twos, and 63. 3 months later, Janie was born in 2/1/64. I will point out that the first day of the month is always, in the olden days, was the Janus Day, the
Hmm.
beginning. And so that's when he was born, 2/1/64. So I wanted to say real quick that I went to a lot of concerts. Louisiana seems to be a strange focus for him. Well, number one, I won't go into the whole story, but I ended up here in Louisiana in a really strange way. So let's just say that I was born and lived a little while in California, moved to Wyoming, and then when I graduated, I moved to Louisiana. I had a friend that had got transferred here, and then they left, and I was here all alone. But I'd stayed here, and I've been here the whole time. And point is, they did a lot of concerts here. and they always did Rock the Bayou. And actually, the very last concert that Jani ever did with Warrant, it was at a Rock the Bayou. And there was a lot of pivotal moments with his concerts. And I always got a backstage pass. Every time I went, I was usually in the front. One time I was in the middle part. They still brought me a backstage pass. It was so weird. And my future husband at the time was there with his bandmate lead singer. She was with me. That girl can sing, yeah, Joan. She can sing like Metallica and stuff. Anyway, so they bring us to a backstage pass. Well, I turn around and my husband was smoking a cigarette. The only cigarette I ever saw him smoke before that, he never smoked before that. I saw him smoking, and he's never smoked since. And he told me later, if you'd went backstage, I'd have never married you. And I was like, wow, because I'd have never had Darby and Devin, and they are both angels in different ways. And yeah, Darby's my little.
So you never
helper.
went backstage at any of the.
No, I did not. I did not. I did run into him at a hotel, oddly. And what happened was our eyes locked. And it was really mysterious and long. And I didn't know what I felt right then. It was really weird. And I knew I was a fan and all, but this was something different. And it scared me. And I took off running. And they were all laughing. And I don't know if it was his bandmates or him. Somebody said either I or you don't usually have that effect on people. Ha ha ha. And I just bolted because I knew there was something else coming evidently down the line. And this is it, you know?
Yeah. So while you're looking on this residue, synchronistically, you get like this ad that pops up under the video talking about Warrant coming to a concert.
Oh, yes.
In your town. And it wasn't with Jani. Of course, Jani, you're looking at residue on how he passed away and all this. It was the new singer. What happened at that concert?
Well, me and my boss, I saw while I was looking for the residual, it was probably right after I found that CD cover that said Catch a Falling Star. I saw a thing and it said they were coming to Rock the Bayou again in 2 days. So I like get on the phone to my old boss, and we're real good friends, and she's going to go with me. Okay. So we go. This man that's singing literally says, I love when I sing songs I didn't write and y'all just sing them back to me. The whole audience was like silent. And it was like we bonded instantly. And everybody was like looking at each other like, why would he say that? You know, like this, there was no tribute to Jani or anything. And so, yeah, that happened.
That's kind of hard to believe. No tribute at all. It's like they never even mentioned Jani.
Nope. And so here's the thing. The next thing I want to say was their biggest concert ever was in Louisiana, and it was a pay-per-view. And we have a couple little clips of that for you. And I'm going to tell you something. Every time that audience pans, it was like that was the side of the stage I was on. I was not on the floor on this one, because we went late, got the tickets late, but.
Well, let's play that clip here. Let me
All
find
right.
it. All right, here we go.
I'll tell you what, man. I'm going to say this real quick. Y'all better grab onto this. Tonight, y'all are going to be on every cable network in the f***ing world. You know what I mean?
My side of the stage.
Yes, indeed, Lafayette, Louisiana is going to creep into about 17 million homes tonight. You know what I mean? So,
So we're going to talk about it later, but his favorite song that he ever wrote, which he thought a very big album was going to be named, and his favorite song was Uncle Tom's Cabin, and he's going to talk about that right now.
check it out, y'all. This is one of my favorite songs in the world. Because I wrote it. No, this is one of my favorite songs in the world. I really love this song. I wrote it about this particular state, so it takes on a special meaning tonight. And I know it's
Yeah, you could stop.
I know it's a little bright in here. That's because we're filming a pay-per-view show tonight.
Okay. Yeah, and so that's just proof that it was the pay-per-view here and everything. And then
And you were at
what?
that, right? You were live
Oh
there.
yeah. Yes.
Weren't you
Yeah, I
even?
was
Wasn't
there.
your husband even there? But you guys weren't together yet, or something like that. Or?
We had never met yet. We
But
hadn't
he
met
was
yet.
there as well, right?
He
That's
was
pretty
there.
wild.
It is
That's,
crazy. And let me tell you, he would have no. I had driven had was from I was from Baton Rouge, drove from Baton Rouge to there. He lived here. But here's the thing. The next clip that we're gonna play is inserted because one, there's many things in this song that's so important. One, my kids and I listen to it all the time. My children listen to it going to daycare every morning from their choice. They love this song. Darby and I both play it to comfort ourselves because it's so nostalgic to us. And the lyrics have become kind of creepy and synchronistic. No, but with the Mandela effect, what you're going to hear right now is where he says, "Memories are great, but man, they're really coming back," which is so Mandela effect to me. And then you're going to hear the chorus of the big song that this video is really about. So.
Memories are great, but man, they're really coming back. Heaven isn't too far away. Closer to it every day. Better watch your friends say, I know we're gonna find a way.
Yeah.
wow.
So
That's
that's,
awesome.
and with everything going on in the world, no matter what everybody's saying online and everything, he knows we're going to find a way. And you're going to see this as we go through this.
Awesome. All right. Let's find the proper window here. Wait, hang on a second. I'm doing this wrong.
No, I'll take it. It's good.
There we go.
I feel so comfortable doing it here because we know everybody. And
Oh, absolutely. So, Sherry,
okay.
is this you and the cherry pie girl here? What's going on with this?
All right. So one of my good friends lived next door to Bobby Brown, like her family home, and both of their family homes. Well, she was in town for that concert. So I thought around the time she had her baby, and she was like, you know, at home with her mom, just, and all that. And what's weird, it became a Mandela effect for me because I'd have swore that she came home with the baby and the concert went on and all that while she was there. I'm like 100% sure. But then, as I don't know if it was Darby was rewatching the live of that whole show because she thinks it's neat that I was there, and she's like, I want to see what all you experienced exactly. And he'd said this song goes out to, he says another guy had a bouncing baby girl, and I'm going to be having a bouncing baby girl in whatever month, and this song goes out to them. And I was like, there's no way, because it was the next year. I don't know. I mean, it was the year, it was then when did this. But
Right.
anyway,
But
so
the
this
babies
is
are there, so
right.
there's the future baby he was
Yeah,
just talking about. I follow you. Yeah, I
yeah,
totally.
okay. I know I get confused on that one, but here's the thing too, is that I have a lot of things like that. I'll just say, like the Apollo moon landing, for instance, in 10th grade, we watched it live, but actually I wasn't in 10th grade the year that they're saying it happened, and
Or the
things like that. It
Challenger, right?
freaks me out. Yeah, the Challenger. I'm so
Right,
sorry.
right.
I always do that. I always do that. God, I did that on Rex's show.
Oh, did
Oh,
you? Oh, well, correction
yeah.
on Leak Project. I didn't even catch it that time.
When was that? Like in
Like before you
1945
were
or
born.
something? Anyway, there's
It's
not very
okay.
much that happened before I was born. No, kidding. Okay, so yes, that is me, my daughter Kayla, Bobby Brown, the cherry pie video girl, the video vixen, and Taylor Jane, her daughter.
It's very sweet.
Very sweet. Yeah. And
Okay.
so
Oh,
the
sorry.
next thing is I have to tell a couple quick little yucky stories. Well, okay,
Well, let's talk
it's
about
important.
the
Well, wait, though, I
three
have to.
Connollys.
Yes, the three Connollys. Okay. So when I was in about eighth grade, a girl from New York came to a rent house across the street from me. And of course, I befriended her and everything. And she wasn't really liked at school. She looked like Pat Benatar, and she was pretty, and they were probably jealous. But anyway, so across the street from my house was a gas station. the little boy that worked there was named John Connolly, and his father was named John Connolly, and he worked at the refinery with my dad. And John and I were like buddies, and I hooked them up together. Well, later on, she got pregnant, and she left on a bus to go back to New York because she didn't want to like mess up his life. That's what she thought. Well, he got on another bus to like follow her. And then, it's a small town, everything's all big. Well, the parents took off, sent cops after him to like get him. And when he got home, he went to school and he like went straight into classes and like punched some boys in the face that had, said derogatory things about her since she was pregnant and stuff like that. And then he went home and he used a gun and he shot himself in the head and he died. And at that time, I was very Christian and I felt like he was going to go to hell. It was my first spirit communication because he came to me. He had on like some white 501 jeans, a white button up shirt, some white high tops. There was light all around him. And he was like, I'm okay. Stop worrying about me. I promise you I'm okay. And he gave me a hug and everything. And he's like, it's going to be all right and everything. And I could feel his body, when I gave him the hug and stuff. And that was my first real big ghost communication event, And, his name was John Conley. Then in my 12th grade year, I got to make a TV commercial, and it was a small town. So I had to go for a quarter of school to a bigger town. My cousin was going to college there, so I was staying with her at an apartment. Well, I had something bad happen. I had a date rape occur. And so the guy, his name was John. And when he fell asleep and everything, I like got up and I was leaving the apartment, and his ID was laying on the corner of the dresser. And I thought, well, I will mess up his day a little bit. He gonna have to go get another driver's license. I like stole his ID. And what's weird was I thought I threw it away or whatever, but when we were moving, it wasn't really that long ago, and I like found it in a box, and I wish I'd have saved it, but I had destroyed it. But his name was John Connolly. Again, it's connecting to those Mandela effects because that's the only two people that were like added to that car, I think, is John Connolly and his wife.
Or
I
his
think.
wife and the Secret Service agent. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
Anyway,
guy
I'm gonna
that's.
let you take over.
Yeah, so this particular Mandela effect, I think most people in our community know about it. But if you haven't heard about it, uh, what people remember is a single film roll of the event happening. It was black and white. It was called the Abraham Zapruder footage film. And with that, he would um, with the different there was only originally one clip to begin with. It was black and white, but now in this current reality it's actually in color. And when I first saw the color one, I just thought they remastered it and added color to it, but in actuality it's always been color from the moment Zapruder filmed it with his camera. So here's the Mandela effect. Originally, a lot of people only remember four people in the car: the driver, uh, next to the driver was John Connolly, Governor Connolly, and behind him was JFK, and to his left was Jackie Kennedy. And there was only Jackie Kennedy was the only female in the car. Uh, in this current reality, if you go look, you'll see that John Connolly is still seated right in front of JFK, yet beside him is his wife, who's seated right directly in front of Jackie Kennedy. And the two additional people would be John Connolly's wife and the Secret Service agent that is all the way in the front passenger seat. So those two people are new for many people that remember it. Um, and what we have here next that we're going to share is something I've shared before, but we wanted to add it in here because there's a connection with Warrant and the Warren Commission. Because this was basically coming across my desk at the same time that Mandela effect with that Darby actually brought this Warrant Mandela effect to Sherry right at that same time. So this is residual evidence that shows the police were discussing getting Governor Connolly's wife to the hospital. Because that's how it originally was. She had to be flown in and taken to the hospital to be by Governor Connolly's side. But in this reality, she's always been seated right next to him. So what we're going to look at now, let me share. But here you can see the JFK assassination Dallas police tapes. And what you'll want to do is you'll see this first column here is the time, and then these two columns here are the different radio channels. So as we scroll down, you'll want to scroll down to 1:37 p.m. This is going to be about an hour after the president was assassinated. On channel 2, the assistant chief of police, Charles Batchelor, actually says, we have information that someone to pick the governor's wife up. It clearly says the governor's wife. Now, in official history now, the governor and his wife were seated right next to each other and rode to the hospital. She never left his side. So why would they need to pick up the governor's wife and get her to the hospital, Parkland? The next thing from Charles Batchelor that he says is here, Mrs. Connolly is being flown in here from Austin. And of course, they met in Austin. If you look, that's where she's from. She will arrive at Love Field. A state car will be standing by, but it will probably be an hour before she gets here. Notify the command post at Parkland to get her through when she arrives. And then again, dispatcher notifies Parkland command post. Mrs. Connolly will arrive in about an hour. Be sure to let her through. Now, what I find interesting is this website says that it's sourced from the Warren Commission. Now, if you look at this one, this is Exhibit 705. This is the same transcript. Someone to pick the governor's wife up. Alrighty.
So, Jani.
Oops, one too far. Okay, let's go and let me pull up this other one here. Hold on a sec. All right. Here we go. So basically, that Mandela effect came across to me, or actually the residue of that Mandela effect, these police transcripts, right around the time that Darby came to you with the warrant Mandela effect, and it just clicked in my head. I'm like, wow, that's so weird that it used to almost say Warren, and I've just been looking at the Warren Commission residue that I just found. So there was a little bit of overlap with different synchronicities and that I was getting and that you were getting, but then it went even deeper than that because you had even deeper connections. Let's go to the next slide here.
Also, I feel like the warrant part of it with the ANT is to stop or to put an arrest to. Right. And I think he's talking about the Warren Commission itself, because there's some, like, I kind of, from my studies, I'm kind of, and stuff psychically that I picked up, I think that it's possible that Lee Harvey Oswald is innocent, and we're going to get into that.
Oh,
but I was, I was waking up one morning. I have this happen a lot where right when I'm waking up, I guess so I won't forget, somebody will say something to me from somewhere, and I heard Jani's voice, and I know his voice, and he said, the victim was the killer was the victim. Well, I realized that his name was like that, John Kennedy and Oswald, the victim and the killer. And then also with his own death, because he died of alcohol poisoning, but you know, they call alcohol spirits, and he may have had like a spiritual attachment that could have been put by someone, either like maybe the bandmates or something, or even something bigger than that, like the powers that be, because I'm going to show going forward, I kind of think there's a possibility that it was trying to lock in a timeline, like to ensure a timeline of this JFK ordeal. And then you look at the fact that, well, we'll get to it in a little bit, but just keep that in mind.
Yeah, so lots of connection though, with his name actually being John Kennedy Oswald before changing it or wanting to go by Jani Lane.
Right.
We had the other connection with the Warren Commission, and then with Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, okay, so in Lewis Carroll's book, Alice Through the Looking Glass, when you read it, Alice can only read the stories and poetry with a mirror, okay? And in one of the stories called Jabberwocky, there was a monster called, there was a lot of nonsensical words, and one of them was a Bandersnatch.
But one of them was Jabberwocky, and we do want to mention that this was the actual name of the unreleased album of Jani Lane. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, we're gonna get into that too, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I should have said that. Thank you so much.
No
Okay,
problem, because
so
that's an important connection. We're not just jumping
yes,
into Alice in Wonderland. We only
right.
went there because of the Jabberwocky title name of the album, which looks at things reversed, right? Reversed, and looking at the verses in reverse. Like she
Yeah.
looked through the mirror, we were doing the same, or you were doing the same thing with sound, basically, with the
Well,
audio.
that's what happened when I saw this and that she was getting those messages with the mirror. I was like, I was getting like a download from him,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, you got to reverse the music. And I
Right.
had previous things with that reverse speech. So, okay, a Bandersnatch,
Mm-hmm.
which also let's say point out too that on Black Mirror,
Right.
which I'm just realizing it's called Mirror.
Right.
There was an episode that was called Bandersnatch that everyone told me about. I didn't watch it because I don't like scary stuff, but the it was one of those things where you could kind of decide which way we were
Yeah,
gonna go.
like choose
Keep
your
this
own
in
adventure
mind,
sort of thing. Yeah.
right? But a Bandersnatch. Now, remember, Janie Lane was in a band, and I feel like he was snatched from us. But you know, it's it. The definition is a monster that hunts, stalks, and kills the leader of a group, and he was the lead singer. So to me, it was very synchronistic.
All right, we'll go to this next one here.
Okay. So when I was listening to Jabberwocky backwards, because he wanted me to reverse it, I caught a couple of lines and they were pretty big. One of them said, I find respect in eyes to see. And it said, I knew you'd help me. Okay. So the point is that at this point, I didn't realize that everything that he's saying was in reverse. I heard these two definite lines, and I made a video with it. When I recorded the piece, I cut it out on the beginning of one of those lines, the end of the last one, and so when I did it, it happened to be number 74 on my recordings, which is an 11. The clip was 18 seconds. There's a 1 and a 8 because it's 11 and the 8s. And then it was on like July 18th that I did it, and I didn't even realize that that happens all the time.
Right, I love
But
it.
all the time. And we got a little bit more residual next, real quick, which it's
Well, let's go
so
to this video first and show this
okay.
actual recording that
Yes,
you're.
sorry.
No, it's okay. Good. Let
Okay.
me switch it over here. Let's go to the
So
tab
wait, I
here.
want to say real quick that
Yep.
I had a patient come to me and say in the middle of what you're hearing, he's saying, "It's an angel I seek. I knew you'd help me." And then a commenter in the comment section said, "Hey," at the end he's saying, "I'll say a prayer for you." Yeah, I'll say it. So then I realized it was he was singing it that whole section backwards. And then when I started looking at other stuff, everything was reversed. And the point is this is proof that I did not realize that everything was backwards at first because you can hear me. When I say it, I don't know yet.
Right. Well, we actually discussed it because we thought it was only the Jabberwocky album because that's the one that referred to the Looking Glass, right? So
Right.
so that's why that sort of opened the door to even start looking at these songs in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a thread that you begin to pull, and you're like, wow, when is this thread ever gonna? Let's just take a listen. Let's show the audience here.
So, Janie's memorial was on Michael Jackson's birthday. And the very first Jabberwocky song that was reversed, what you'll hear is when you first hear this, you're going to hear, it's just a clip. You're going to hear eyes to see, and then I find respect in eyes to see. And then a little ooh, ooh, ah, ah, and a little something, something. And then it's going to say, I knew you'd help me.
Wow.
Wow. So yeah, clearly, you can
Ye-
hear that
ye-
come through. Yeah.
yes. And the point is with Janie's stuff is that it's really clear. It's like not, stretching stuff to get that out of it, you know?
Absolutely. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and look at a little bit of this residue here for warrant, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna start talking about it because I couldn't really find a lot of it, but I have this great idea, and anyone can do this. Whatever Mandela effect you're talking about, even like Sally Fields, if you type it in the old way, you'll find people that listed stuff to sell the old way that it was. And these people, they had no idea. They were like, okay, well, there's this band warrant and whatever, and there's like 5,000 people on eBay selling warrant stuff, spelling it WARRENT, which is like me and Darby's memory, like the Warren Commission and all that. So as you see, the red arrows on these are pointing at where the lister of this product spelt it the way I remember, WARRENT, and there's thousands of them.
Yet the products have changed, even though the listing, the name is still.
They have Berenstein books like that and everything. If you type it in the old way.
Look at all these, tons. Of
and I mean, I just got a few to just show everybody how prevalent this was.
Right.
Yeah. So I was at work one day, and I mean, everything comes with YouTube and stuff. Like I get synchronistic stuff all the time. So at this point, I was on a little smoke break at work, and this 911 call was just in my recommendeds, and I was like, oh wow, and I played it, and we're gonna play it for you, and I want you to notice the number synchronicities in it. Remember, he died 8/11/11. And also, this is disturbing to hear, and just be warned, it's kind of triggering.
Let's take a listen.
What room number is the patient in?
Room 118.
Okay, room 118. So, are you there?
No, I'm calling at the lobby. I work at the front desk.
Okay, so what's the problem there? Tell me exactly what happened.
Okay. Well, the housekeeping, when they're about to clean the room, well, they knocked the room like for 3 times, and then he didn't open the door, and then finally opened.
Okay.
One of the housekeeping, like he checked the guy like maybe he's dead because
and so how old? Do you know about how old approximate age the patient is? Maybe
like 50s.
Okay, male or female?
Male.
Okay, so do you know if they're conscious? You don't know, or?
No, because they just, when we opened the door, they didn't go like closer. They didn't.
So you guys don't know what's going on there?
No, because the guy.
Do you have a defibrillator? Shock pucks for the heart. Do you guys have one?
No.
Okay, paramedics are on the way. Okay, just stay on the line. Tell you exactly what to do next. Does anybody there know CPR and first aid?
I know.
Is there any way you can transfer me to the room? Is there anyone there that's willing to go into the room and see if we can maybe do CPR, or do you think that the patient's already passed away?
I think passed away because when they checked, the guy, like his eyes is open in the mouth and they're not breathing.
Was there an odor, or was he stiff? I mean...
The guy in the room?
Yeah.
Odor.
No, was there an odor? Did it smell?
No, they didn't really go inside. So maybe housekeeping thinks that he's dead.
Okay, well, tell you what, ma'am, if somebody is willing to go in there and just to go check it out and then give us a call, okay? We are on our way. I mean, you don't have to, but, it just, if this person needs help, we need to do CPR, it'd be nice to at least know if we can help him. You know what I mean? If not, then if he's passed away, well, then there's nothing else we can do.
So you want us to go in the room and...
Well, it's up to you, ma'am. Is somebody there willing to go in the room, or...
I could ask our maintenance to maybe, touch him, or...
is he willing to do it? Is he willing to go in there and...
I'll ask him now.
I mean, I can't force him to do it, but I'm asking if he's willing to do it.
I'll ask him.
Okay, I'll be right here.
Okay, hold on, because the other phone is going crazy when I call 911. I can't stop it.
Is there any way to transfer me to that room? 118, will somebody answer?
No, we try.
Okay. Well, then help's already on the way, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so are you going to ask to see if he'll go in there?
Yes, I'm going to call another line. Hold on, okay?
Okay, I'll be right here. Hello?
No, nobody wants to do it.
Okay, well, that's fine then, ma'am. Help's on the way, okay?
Oh, okay.
We're on our way.
You want me to wait? I mean, or...
Well, no, we're on our way, okay? We can hang up. Just, we're on our way, okay?
Okay,
If we can help you with anything else, call us back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so this really, really disturbed me it even gets me now listening to it, because everybody, loved him so much, they'd want to like touch his hair or his jacket or something. And nobody even wants to go in and see if he has a pulse. And at first I felt like I just couldn't believe that. And so whenever I'd talk to like Shane and people like that about it, they were like, well, a lot of people aren't a nurse like you, so they don't, they might think that's scary or something. So I came to feel more like understanding of that and non-judgmental, because I am used to situations like that. I mean, although they're all difficult, I'm more used to it and stuff, but it really affected me. Mm-hmm. And it was that night that I went to bed, and I want to point out here real quick that before this show, I had a recommended from Affected Collective, which I sure wish I knew where she was at. But she had a video about Philip K. Dick. And I really needed to hear this, because this happened to me in a hypnagogic state. It was like before I was going to sleep, but I was watching it like a movie. And what happened was I didn't want him to hear this phone call. And I found myself in this room trying to coerce him out of his body. And at the end of his bed on the right, there was a portal with two, well, I guess they were angels, but they did not have wings, white figures. And I walked him to them, and they took him. And so the next night it happened to me. And then the next night, and I was like, man, is this going to happen forever? Because it's really hard. Well, that night I was, shook. So I got up, and I was sitting on the couch and everything, and I turned on YouTube. Just like whenever Michael Jackson was communicating with me, because I'm telling you, they could affect phones and stuff, obviously, with the thank you from the beginning. Every video that I couldn't push anything except for that song, Someone in the Dark, when Michael was communicating with me. This time, there was a very short video of his sister speaking at Jani's memorial on Michael Jackson's birthday. And I want to thank AJ from the Rip On Rabbit Hole for so respectfully helping me do a very nice honoring of Jani's life, where we included this video. And I couldn't find the video, so we have a clip from AJ's thing of it. But yeah.
All right, let's roll this. So this is interesting. So just to recap, 3 nights in a row, you have this dream of helping Jani from his bed in the afterlife to these angelic figures, or light being looking figures, next to a portal at the bottom of the bed. And you basically walked them over to there and helped them get out of there in this hypnagogic state.
Yeah, and what I was trying to say was I'm so sorry. I started crying during the 911 call. It hasn't happened to me in a while.
Right.
But the thing is that when I was talking about Affected Collective, Philip K. Dick wrote a book called You Have an Appointment Yesterday. And, he was talking about causality. And I was like, wow, maybe I was meant to do it like that. Maybe.
Yeah, after the fact. Yeah, it's almost like a little synchronicity. Let you know.
Yeah, it helped me, because I was kind of, I don't know, it showed me you have an appointment yesterday. That's so cool.
Yeah. Especially with the movie yesterday, but we'll get to that.
Let's
play this. This is Jani's sister at his memorial, and it was actually on Michael Jackson's birthday, was it?
Yeah, and the 29th, 2 and 9 is an 11, so you got another 8/11.
Then we have, okay. Let's keep rolling here.
I know how much you care for me, and how much I care for you, and these are for his fans. And each time that you think of me, you'll know I missed you too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name and took me by my hand. Just bear with me for a second.
Now, I want to pause it right there because I want to reverse the clock just a little bit. And I want to start this clip back just before 1:08. Because what is said between the time of 1:08 and 1:11 clearly moves his sister in this moment. And she literally has to stop herself. So let's go back and just rewind. We'll start it at a minute, and we'll watch those moments leading up to 1:08 together again.
Please try to understand that an angel came and called my name and took me by my hand. Just bear with me for a second.
Bella, you describe that is exactly what happened.
Shocking. Because if I'm any kind of angel, I certainly have a crooked halo. Yep. When I saw that it was between 108 and 111, again, you have those 8s and those 11s.
Yeah. Yeah, shout out to AJ for catching that one, too.
That's so cool.
Let me go back to the PowerPoint here, and let's talk about those documents while I'm pulling this up.
Okay. All right. So what happened was, I'm going to have to word this very carefully, but a lot of you know me, so that'll help. So let's pretend that I entered a place of business, and someone there said to me that they didn't know how to print out these documents, and someone had emailed them that was saying there and, wanted a copy of these just released FOIA documents or whatever. And so she didn't know how to do it, and so I was going to do it. So that person that wanted them didn't know, or didn't know what time I was coming, so they were not present right then. So I printed out 2 copies so I could take one home and read them. But when he came back, I said, so what's this all about? Like, can you kind of fill me in? And he's like, well, what it is that, one of my buddies here, that's his grandpa was like kind of involved with this. So now you could screenshot these and read them more thoroughly, but basically what's going on is in Louisiana, right by me, there was a hotel. And evidently, before the incident in Dallas, Jack Ruby and Lee Harvey Oswald together presented at this hotel. So after they asked for the boss, and the desk clerk, a woman, said, well, he's in Dallas already, and they were like on the way to Dallas. And so after the incident occurred, she contacted like the authorities to give this information, and she said that actually I think she talked to her about whatever. He told her to keep her mouth shut, okay? And so when she contacted the authorities, she said that they came through, and they said, well, how did you know it was them? And she said, well, I'd seen them on the news or something like that, because she didn't want to say what she really wanted to say, that she said later, after I guess she wasn't connected with him anymore because he kind of put fear into her, she felt comfortable to tell him, no, I knew it was them. Dad presented their IDs. So again, this ID is coming up. This is going to come up a lot. I still haven't figured this out all the way, but I think it might have to do with like the straw man and the capital letters and all that kind of stuff, if you're kind of following me. And then remember that John Connolly, I had stole his ID off the dresser. Okay.
Right. That's so weird how all this unconnected stuff is connected. And, this is kind of mind-blowing. We have these Freedom of Information documents that were released showing that Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Ruby were together at a hotel days before the assassination.
Right by my
Right by your house.
Right. And now, here's the point. So with that grandchild or whatever,
being with his buddy or whatever. My point is that I felt, and I mean, I was probably picking up on it. I'm a woman, and she was told to shut her mouth. And that's what I felt like was kind of going on. He had walked by me and kind of gave me that smile, like that new movie that's coming out, smile, kind of like this evil grin.
Right.
And so,
But he didn't know you. He didn't know you have copies of it. So it was like a spiritual. It was a deeper thing going on here.
Always with this stuff.
Right.
Crazy. So I go home and I thought, you know what? He's usually pretty nice when I interact with him. I kind of considered telling him my story, you know, a little bit, because you know I was right here where we're at. And so when I went back, I still really hadn't decided, but I went back and the guy had kind of like, I guess, flipped out and got angry and left, and I never saw him again. But he got his little message out to me. I believe that's what it was about. But anyway, if anyone wants to screenshot them and read them, they can. It tells what I just told y'all a little more professionally. Okay. Also, those are Warren Commission reports. Yeah. So again, got a warrant is to stop, and the Warren report, you know, Warren Commission.
Right. Okay. So let's talk about the dream first.
Okay, yeah. So I had this dream that I was like staying in a hotel, and Jani was staying upstairs, which I love that because I feel like it kind of represents heaven. You know what I mean? Like he was upstairs and I'm downstairs, and so he's like I ran upstairs to him and I'm all excited and I bust through the door and I give him this envelope and he looks in it and he's like, "Wow, you found my ID." And he was so happy and he gave me a hug and everything. Like I said, I'm still putting all of this together, but right here, it says, "I am Jani Lane." That was the note found on his body when he died. He was notorious for not carrying that ID. I believe firmly that he didn't want to carry it because his name was John Kennedy Oswald. He wanted to be known as Jani Lane. He was Jani Lane. And I gotta say, I have a hunch that, and this is just me, by his death occurring, I think maybe something was trying to kind of lock in a timeline connected to that, the JFK incident, and that they were kind of redoing it. This is how I felt, like in an archetypical way. This kind of been shown to me lately, that things kind of repeat like that. And so what I feel like, and I'm going to show you more later, I feel like he, by having that note in his pocket, that he kind of flipped the script because he said, "I am Jani Lane." So I just thought it was neat to put right here that I'd found this picture on a fan site of his. This is a picture in his hometown of Brimfield, Ohio. And on his home street, it says John Oswald, a.k.a. Jani Lane Warrant, home street of him. And so I thought that also, if you look online, it will say that he is from Akron. Interestingly, the guy that invented AA is from there. I just thought that was interesting to note since he died of alcoholism. But also, Akron, when you look at it, it kind of looks like Archon. So there's people that could read that into that. But I like the little Archon. Like I'm on the arc of, you know, this type of people at this frequency or whatever, you know. And so I think we're riding on the same arc with the 811s. But, well, we're going to get more into stuff like that in a minute. All right. So during Jani's life, he had a lot of adversities, hence the alcoholism, and that's what I wanted to get into. So first off, he was up for a Grammy for the song Heaven. That's that one that he was singing at the beginning. It's the biggest one for me and my children. My kids listen to it all the time on the way to daycare and everything. So the Grammy was won by none other than Milli Vanilli. And as people remember probably, they lost that Grammy because they were busted for lip sync and everything. So they lost that Grammy. And it should have went to them, but no one ever went back and said, "Hey, you know, this, you deserve this Grammy." You know, he didn't get it. Then also, he was divorced a few times, and I know he was such a loving, kind soul. I heard multiple people. I know for a fact that these things just tore him up inside. And also, he was a
according to, well, we'll get into that, but according to Bobby Brown in a book she wrote, he was raped when he first got to Hollywood, when in his early days when he was on the strip. Right when he got there, a rape occurred, and we're going to get into that more. So
we actually have a clip of him admitting that. Do you want to roll that now?
yes, yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, let's do that. Let's see here. 1 second, you guys. Alrighty, let's roll this one.
Jani, sorry to keep you waiting, man. That's alright. Alright, so what can you legally talk about, man, with all this battle that's going on with
I don't care.
Right on, good attitude.
Do me, put me in jail, what, they whip me? I don't care. I've been divorced, married, raped, I don't care.
He's still setting levels, sorry, man. Alright, so as of your website, it says as of January 9th, 2004, Jani Lane, frontman for the band, has left to pursue his solo projects.
A lie. A blatant. If I may speak like Jack Black and if you can picture the Jack Black spin. A lie. A rock and roll lie. I never quit the band. I was never notified of being replaced by mail, email, or phone. I wrote the songs, I sing the songs, I will continue to do that, and they can go out and be the best cover band that they can possibly be.
Wow, it sounds like that was kind of another rough divorce that he had to go through in a way, right?
Yeah, and also, I like was noticing whenever whoever that video was filmed by, when they panned down, you don't have to back it up to it. It was on 53 seconds, which is 8, but you don't have to back up to it.
Oh, no problem.
If they can back it up, yeah, because this just happens all the time. That's what I'm saying to people, you know.
Yeah.
So, here we have that from Classic Rock Magazine that Jani's ex-wife Bobby claimed that he was raped. Okay, and move on to the next one. That's good. So I'm going to read this for y'all. At the moment that he admitted that he was drugged and raped by a member of a famous heavy metal band and their manager, it was devastating to hear. He admitted this to me before his death. It was traumatizing to watch him reveal those things and how much it had affected his life up to that point. When we were married, I had no clue. This occurred when he was just starting out on the strip. So when I'm hearing all this with him, I'm crying with him, and I was going, we have to do something. We have to say something. And he was like, no, because it was a humiliation for a man to be in that position. It's so emasculating, she says on, and humiliating. It would have been humiliating for him, so we couldn't say anything. Instead, he lived with this anger inside. He felt like he couldn't say anything because he was a man, and he was raised to be a man and not to cry. So he had a lot. He was a tortured soul, you know. And then, back to that one. Let me see if there was anything else. Okay. So remember at the beginning, I showed y'all when he said, this is my favorite song. And he was going to play Uncle Tom's Cabin. And I'm going to let him tell you, but he did not want to write the song Cherry Pie. Not at all. He wanted that album to be called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And he was proud of that Louisiana song. So you can go ahead and roll that.
As more and more acts scored commercial success with power ballads, pressure from the labels intensified. The formula was simple. Metal bands were selling big and selling out.
I hate that song. I had no intention of writing that song. The record was done. The record was called Uncle Tom's Cabin. And Donnie Einer called up and said, I don't hear the single. You got to give me a single like Love in an Elevator. I need something like that. So that night I wrote Cherry Pie, sent it to him. He lived with it over the weekend, and all of a sudden the album's called Cherry Pie. The record's called Cherry Pie. I'm doing cherry pie eating contests. The single's Cherry Pie, right? If I'm lying, I'm dying. And my legacy's cherry pie. Everything about me is cherry pie. I'm a cherry pie guy. I could shoot myself in the head for writing that song.
Wow, he really wasn't happy about that, was he?
No, I've read stuff on Reddit that he said he wrote it on his toilet, taking a dump, and on the back of a dirty old pizza box, and sent it, you know. So let's see where we're at on that.
We're gonna move on to Jani Lane, The Slice of Pain and Pie. Let me pull that up here.
Okay, great.
Shout out to Logan with Decode Your Reality in this one. Huh?
Right, yeah. So, I have a thing I was gonna put. Okay, so let's see. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Logan has. I've learned from him that like 3.14 mathematically is related to like our emotions and the emotional responses, the electromagnetic energy that's produced, and AKA Loosh, quoting Robert Monroe. And some people believe that that kind of power is our reality, like the movie on the movie Monsters Inc. I actually had something that I wanted to read right here, and I'm gonna find it real quick because. Okay, so this is something that I wrote under one of my videos. The reversals in the songs written by frontman lyricist Jani Lane. I believe the next message is about Pi 3.14. The work of Logan Payette, interesting name. I love that when the names fit people's jobs. Of Decode Your Reality will show us Jani's state of mind when writing it and his emotions about the situation, which seems to appear in these reversals. Wow, this angel Jani Lane was totally channeling messages for us to learn and to decode this reality all along. Even way back in his musical magical prime. Just amazing. Plus the lines, puts a smile on your face 10 miles wide. Looks so good, brings a tear to your eye. Tastes so good, makes a grown man cry. Oh, all that energy in motion or emotions. Quoting Logan, he says, we're being used, folks. And I say, could it be our higher self playing its avatar down here, getting its own gasoline? The investigation shall continue. Better to stay neutral as the observer instead of, also in the song it says, swinging to the left and swinging to the right. So we can kind of leave it like that right now.
Very cool, very cool. So that leads us to
the reversals.
Right. Are you ready to roll those?
Ready.
All right. Let me switch again. I have to do this so that she can get the sound too, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and remember, he did not want to write these songs. This song.
Hi, it's Bella, and I'm making this video to show y'all that all of a sudden my iReverse speech app is no longer available when I paid for it. That had all Jani Lane's music in it, reversed, so I could start breaking it down, because I could already hear what he was saying, but I needed to write the lyrics down and get it into video form and stuff. Now, before this, I actually had this happen when I installed the app on my iPad. It said this, which I'll read out loud to you.
Notice that picture's 8
Once
of
installed,
11.
the application will allow you to manipulate sound files of human speech recorded on your mobile device so that such speech can be played in reverse as new sound files on your mobile device. Reversal. Using the application and creating reversals are likely to result in insights and understandings that are enlightening but also unexpected. Because reversals are entirely based on speech selected and recorded by you, we cannot predict the content of reversals or what they may reveal. For these and other reasons, you should only use the application and create reversals with great care and in accordance with our guidelines and code of ethics on our website, currently located at www.reversespeech.com. Failure to do so may cause or contribute to negative effects, now get this, such as nausea, vomiting, headaches, nightmares, sleepwalking, a feeling of being on edge, temper, isolation, a severing of relationships, and or inability to stop thinking about reversals and their potential meanings and implications. If you experience any of these or negative effects, you should immediately stop using the application and listening to any reversals and consult a medical professional. Now, come on, dude.
Okay.
Really? Okay, so this is the one that says dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking at the beginning of cherry pie. And it says written without me. Then I slowed it down. It clearly says written without me. Now on the next one, I can just try to, like I didn't go through it thoroughly yet, but I don't want to lose it. So I'm having things go off being taken off my phone without me doing it. So, okay, let's see here. I'm explaining what I'm talking about pi being mathematically related to our emotions, and basically that all of the negative emotions, even the very, very, very high emotions, can basically cause things to, I guess, like the movie Monsters Inc., maybe feed off you or power our reality or something. My point is that what I've learned from Logan on Decode Your Reality is it's best to kind of be neutral. But if you hear what he's saying backwards on his Cherry Pie song, it's all totally about emotions. And then he clearly states that he's not the one writing this song because he didn't want to write it. I heard, give me an answer. And then I think it says, I'll erase my fears. I'll erase the muse. I think it says something about bullshit and oh, this. Okay, listen. I'll erase my fear. Now what you're going to hear is startling. It's going to say, the Lord of the Muse is standing over me. I'm writing a script. I'm going to back that up. I'm going to back that up.
I had to show that part again because it is a little bit creepy, but it's I don't know.
Well, what was going on too? Write it, and I think that he tapped in somewhere and something else wrote it. He didn't want to write. Okay, so let's see. Moving on. What's our next slide?
We are gonna go to a brighter perspective on Cherry
Yay!
Pie.
Yes.
That's cool because this really does help because we all have our bad days, right, Cherry?
We do, and I wanted to bring this up, and I want to thank this commenter. I don't know if I'll ever run into him, but it's Brian, and I don't know.
Right,
Anyway.
but he got the source from blabbermouth.net. So we did go check it out. He's not just making stuff up. It really is a post. So I'll let you read it.
In a later interview, Jani stated, VH1 caught me on a bad day. I was going through a divorce. My mother had just passed away. And these guys wanted to sit me down and grill me with questions, and I did not want to be there. So, push that interview to the side. I'm happy as a clam to have written a song that is still being played and still dug by so many people. It's hard enough to write a song, let alone one that sticks around. And then the commenter says, we miss you, Jani. And we do.
Absolutely. Let's tie in some more of these numbers with the cherry pie and what is
Yes.
this?
So, okay. Like I said, I love watching Logan's work, and sometimes I kind of get a different.
Like interpretation out of the numbers and stuff?
Yeah, I kind no, not really out of the numbers. I get a different message from what he does sometimes, but that's okay. I still learn so much. But Exodus 3.314, which is pi, God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And yeah, if you add up those numbers there, it equaled the 369. And that's so cool because, when you claim I am whatever, you're like creating and stuff.
Oh, and that's like the vortex math, the 369, the Tesla math.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that ties into Abraham Hicks or Esther
Right.
talking about being in the vortex of creation.
Right.
That's pretty powerful. That's a lot of connections right here on this.
I love it. And so right here, he takes stuff from the periodic table all the time, but he can spell stuff out sometimes. And I am that I am can be spelled out. And what I love about this is when he added up the numbers, look what he got.
Wow.
1181. And I just love that. And I'm always so thankful. And Logan did say I could use all of his stuff. And although he may get different interpretations, they're very synchronistic to me because I had an experience with Michael Jackson bringing up the I am. Like just the stuff with Michael, like it was never negative. He always was kind of like, you need to focus, remember who you are. Nothing short of what a Buddhist monk would tell you, like never anything negative. And neither with Jane either. Yeah, he wasn't happy about writing cherry pie. But anyway, we cleaned that mess up, right?
Right. Well, we've had synchronicities with the Ghost Radar before, and we've shared them on this channel. So some
Yes.
people aren't new to this, but yeah, what is this?
So this is a long time ago. Like, okay, so I'm gonna start on the right first. But Janie Lane died 8/11/11, and I guess maybe I didn't turn it on or something then, But when I did turn it on, I got Jane week, and I realized way later that was the week of his death.
Wow, yeah.
That was in 2019, and in 20. I got John Kennedy on there, so I was like looking up JFK quotes and everything on that
I remember
day.
this, yeah.
Yeah. And you were the one that was like, well, wait, maybe it's Janie, And so we get to looking, and it was on January 31st. His birthday was the next day on 2/1, and that's crazy because it was,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's one of those crazy synchronicities. Actually, this is the one where you didn't even have it on, right? And you just went and it had been turned on?
Yeah, and it does that a lot to me. But here's the thing, too, I'm just now noticing. With the Janus point being in the middle, you look at January 31st would be the ending of the month. And Janus is the god of beginnings and endings. Janus Day is the next day on the 1st. So maybe that was what he was trying to get to me then, and I just didn't pick up on it yet.
Exactly, because you were talking about how you felt like maybe he was changing a timeline or something, right? By not dying as John Kennedy, but dying as Janie Lane.
Right.
That's why he had the note in his pocket that said, I am Janie Lane.
Right.
And this is interesting because the day before his birthday, we have the old name. The day of the Janus looking back in time, right? Because the Janus point is the 1st of the month. And then on his birthday, he's like, it's sort of like being born again, right? He let the John Kennedy self die and was born as Janie Lane and died as Janie Lane because of that thing in his pocket. You know what I just noticed? Your birthday, right at the top there, 5/12.
Wait, what? Where?
Isn't that your birthday, 5/12?
Yeah. Oh, wow, yes, that's my birthday. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But we just noticed that.
Yeah, and we just noticed all of that we just told you.
Right.
Okay, so on this past one, I had already, I think, did heaven maybe. I think so. And on his I had. And on his birthday on 2/1, I was at work, and it was like 4 a.m, and the ghost radar came on by itself, freaked out my tech. And yes, it said Janie Lane. And usually you got to understand this thing puts out one word, not two.
Right.
But I've gotten Michael Jackson on it, Janie Lane, John Kennedy. I have also gotten Alpha Omega, the beginning and the end. That's my grandma's name.
Right, the turtle lady, right?
No, it was my mom's mom.
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
Alpha Omega.
Now, check it out, you guys. While we were putting these slides together, I'm like, look, there's pi right there, 314, right on the
Yeah.
Jani Lane slide. That's so.
You wanted us to see that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like the more we were putting this together, the more things were revealed, and even new things, which will, like the one we showed at the beginning and some other things.
So what I want to point out here is every time that ghost radar would click on, like when Wyatt was a baby, like I would turn it on or something, and he'd be like, Bella, turn that off. It makes the white balls come. Well, then I really trusted it more because it was at least spirits because the orbs, I'm like, we're all orbs. And I started noticing, like, first off, this is the back of the Jackson 5's Triumph album with the peacock. The peacock the feathers are all eyes. And if you remember in Ezekiel's wheel was described as being covered in eyes. I believe this is because when we are in an orb, we have 360-degree vision. If you are out of body and kind of are in just a point of consciousness state, you are an orb, not like looking like a ghost body, okay? And I really think that that's what this is talking about, like the Merkabah. And in the show Manifest, okay, they highlighted this peacock. They had this stopwatch on there, and I noticed it just made me think of Jani, and you'll see why in a minute. But there is that peacock representing like God or the Christ consciousness or whatever, with all the eyes all around it, under the star, and shining down on it. And if you notice on the next page, this little tarot card that I have a picture of came from the show Manifest. But we've all seen the star card, and they have different things on it. But here has the peacock. And I put an example of how they would film him often from the back like that, with the star shining down, with the stage light shining down on him, looking just like that card. And I really just believe that there's just messages in everything, and everything connected.
Yeah,
we're
I'm noticing these.
Our reality.
Right, yeah, we're all like stars of our own show in a way, I was noticing the 17 up here.
Right.
Because on the Janus, you remember it has that 17 on the Janus as well?
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's
and
wild.
And the 1 and the 7 is an 8.
Yeah,
so
and the 1 and 7 is an 8. Yeah, exactly.
We're getting more and more.
Exactly. I love this.
Amazing. Okay, this is interesting. So when we watched, I don't want to say yesterday we watched the movie. When we watched the movie titled Yesterday, when I watched that, this picture freaked me out because with the MK Ultra stuff, and I believe there's some hair cutting stuff involved, things with hair being dark and hair being light. You'd have to be in intense study of that to see all this. But also, whenever there was some pizza things going on, there was a singer there, and he had on a mask like this. It freaked me out.
And the leopard print can also be associated.
Yeah, the leopard print is like MK Ultra, like sex kitten programming, and I know all of this stuff, and I was so freaked out. And when I looked, I felt this peace come over me. And in the song Heaven, one of the first lines Jani writes is, "See the factory that I work silhouetted in the back." And I was like,
it was a silhouetted factory in the back of this scary looking picture, right?
Yeah, and then it said, "Memories are gray, but man, they're really coming back." And here's the thing. I feel like that has to do with the Mandela effect. And in that movie yesterday, I believe it's a great Mandela effect movie because, they have a Jaws poster in it. The old way the guy wakes up and there's things missing from his reality, like Coca-Cola and cigarettes, which are kind of like my little vices. And it's so weird. Like I was sitting in there with my boss, and she's like, "Sherry, this is like about you." But she'd seen so many weird things going on with me, and I'm like, a lot of people drink Coke and smoke cigarettes. Before I'd have been scared, but I was like reassuring her. But Anyway, yeah, and
And
it
the
was
other things that you noticed, once you
yeah,
noticed the factory, then you noticed that it had wheat, which can represent like a
right,
harvest or abundance. It had the
exactly.
anchor, which had significance for you. So it wasn't all bad, but it almost took you getting beyond the fear. And it was like Janie showed you that factory silhouette in the back, and it like flipped the script for you, and you start seeing all the positive stuff within the same picture.
Yeah, and you helped me so much with that wheat because they were like chopping down wheat or whatever. But the thing is that um, Shane had came up with this thing that I always use when I talk to people because in the Bible it talks about the wheat and the tares, and he had taught me this, and I'm just so sure because I'm so into all that stuff about that our thoughts create reality, and I think that the wheat is the good thoughts, and the tears is the bad thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that when I was even filming a video, the video that you're gonna see, or the one that we showed at the beginning with where he said thank you and he was talking to the audience,
Yeah.
my camera just accidentally is on this crazy little table thing that I used that my mom that I didn't like before. And it's now it's one of my favorite things in the house, and it's just got wheat on the front of the cabinets,
Right,
and it
right,
was
a wheat pattern
on
in there. Yeah.
my camera was on and on accident during that reversal. It's so weird.
That's so
But
cool.
that memories are great, but man, they're really coming back. I really believe that is about the Mandela effect. And also, he says the lights are going out along the boulevard. And on the Paranormal Rising that I listened to channel, he was playing a glitch in the Matrix one, and there was it not I'm not gonna tell the whole story, but there was a rock star in it down a road, and there were lights burning out like on a tree, and he was like talking about the and then the street lights were going out too, and he was acting like it was like about like celebrities that had died. So that's very interesting considering the experiences that I have.
Now, talk about synchronicity. Your son Devin was taking a road trip, right? Trucking across the United States, and he breaks down. And where else does he break down? You got to tell this story. This is amazing.
So at this time I thought Jani was from Akron, Ohio, which he is, but this is a little suburb of it where he was raised. So my son breaks down, and I'm telling you, even as a woman, if my radiator or something broke, I really doubt that they'd fix it just for free. But my son, I don't know what all it was, but whatever it was, they either had to move the transmission or he had to have a transmission drop, something. But this mechanic, Devin was like out of money and like really in a bind. And the guy's like, look, I know you're going to pay me. I'm just going to do it for you. You look like a good kid and all this. I can't help but think that Janie had a hand in this. But so get this. My son has to get a hotel. And, the closest place, there was this little bar and grill there. The bar and grill was called Tailgaters. I've got to segue to another quick story. My mom had told me, she said, look, I'm sorry that snack that you had on the cabinet or whatever. And I said, what snack? And she's like, they were called gator tails. And I was like, I've never bought anything like that. And she's like, yeah, they were on the cabinet. I'm like, I didn't buy that. A couple weeks later, I was at a local store where they might have stuff that people make locally. I saw a little rack with the gator tails on it and the one that she had. And so she liked them. So I bought her another one. When I went home, I set them on the cabinet, and then my mom was freaking out because they were exactly in the same position and everything as she had found them the first time. So, and she got to eat them again. So, hey.
Now,
But anyway,
talk about a weird Mandela effect. So she ate the snacks before you ever even knew what they looked like to go buy them. And then when you bought them, you set them right where they were when she originally ate them. If that's not one of those weird time loops, I don't know what it is. That's so strange. And it
yeah.
almost reminds me of, your detergent thing that had happened.
Oh, yeah. For a while, me and my mom were on this little roll. My all kept filling up. And I can't help but look at the meaning because that's very beautiful.
Oh,
My
yeah, yeah.
all kept filling up. Like I'd buy a new one because it was almost gone. And when I'd get back, well, when I went to switch it out, that one was full to where I thought that my mom had bought another one or refilled it or something.
Right.
And then I thought, well, maybe she switched them out already and stuff. And I went to grab the empty one and it was new. And I was like, wait, what? Well, we had this happen about 3 times, and it's like my all filled up.
And I had that happen, and that's beautiful to see you're all filling up. But my other thing was I had some face cleanser that works really well. It's called Neutrogena Pore Refining. They changed the formula. It doesn't work good. So I got an old one on eBay long ago. You can't find it anymore. And I know that this was my bottle because when someone opened the thing, they even said in the eBay sale thing that someone cut it open like with a razor blade. So there's a little slit at the top on the side. So I would dispense it out of there. And then that way I only used a little tiny bit because you didn't need much and I didn't waste any. But it was almost empty. And I'm like, what am I going to do? You know, well, all of a sudden it filled up by itself. And I was like, what? You know, because, and then I try to look deep at it and look at the name and it was Neutrogena, like neutral genesis. And I'm like, wait, okay, this is all connecting to my stay in the center lane and you're doing better. Don't swing to the left, don't swing to the right. Kind of stay in the center like an observer.
Right.
And yeah, I was just getting that message from it.
So back to the gator tells. The gator tells that it happened. That happened right around the time that Tailgaters, this place that your son stopped at, happened.
Yeah,
so
he showed up at this place, Tailgaters.
it's kind of reversed. That's kind of, have you noticed that? Like Tailgaters and gator tells?
Back to front to back.
Yeah.
See, we're just noticing that right now, too.
Right.
So Devin's there, and, you know, he was drinking and eating appetizers, and then later on he was hanging out there for a long time. So these women come in, and they had on warrant shirts like mine, and Devin's like, oh, y'all like warrant? And she's like, how you know what warrant is? You're just a baby. And he was like, oh, no, my mom turned us on to that. We love warrant, you know, our whole family and stuff like that. And so they're like, well, we're here because this is where he hung out when he was at home. And, well, you know, the bartender was right there, and Devin had been talking to her all day. And he glanced up at her, and she's like, yeah, that was his table right there. That's where he sat all the time. So Devin took a picture of it for me to show me where Jani Lane's always sat in his favorite hangout place in his hometown. That was super cool. And also, then Nathan's always wanting to win that lottery, and I noticed there was like lottery numbers up there, and I sent him the picture, but I need to try to map it out and see what they are. That'd be interesting that there's lottery numbers on the screen.
What if that's the winning numbers? I tried to give you the winning numbers.
Yeah, or, you know, hey, but I figure everything happens when it's supposed to, so maybe if I write them down and send them to Nathan or get him a ticket, we'll see.
So, to recap, your son's traveling across the country. He breaks down $3,000+ of repairs on his truck. He has no money. In fact, I think he had to hit you up to have lodging money.
And to get home.
And to get home. And then this guy says, you know what? We'll just work out a payment plan or something. I'm going to go ahead and fix it for you. You can pay me later. I know you'll pay me. And then he goes to this bar. He's hanging out, and he finds out it's Jani Lane's old hangout in his hometown. And then he actually called you throughout the night, right? And you got to talk to people that knew Jani.
Yeah, like Devin was drinking, and the patrons of the place were drinking, and every once in a while, Devin would call me. Like 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 in the morning, and he's like, "Look, this guy went to school with Jani," and he'd be like, "Yeah, well, we called him John, you know, but yeah, I went to school with him." And I talked to all these people that like knew him when he was younger. It was really,
that's really cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was weird.
So many synchronistic things. I mean,
yeah. So when I started seeing all these numbers connecting like they were and everything, I started thinking, you know, that it was probably a coded reality, whether it's by the creator or otherwise, we don't know. But with numbers being involved and all that, my daughter Darby, she always, you know, she's always there to send me stuff I can use. She sent me these lyrics that are in a Miley Cyrus and Noah Cyrus recorded this together, and then Noah Cyrus also recorded it by herself. That's Miley's sister. But it's that song, I Got So High That I Saw Jesus. And it really is a beautiful song because I believe it talks a lot about like spiritual development and stuff too. But this lyric happens to say, Joseph lost his job to a machine, and Mary lost her mind to lines of code that you can't see. And if the angels are the AI, and you know, you got to look at like angles and angels, the etymology there. And as the, you know, that sounded really scary to me at first because lines of code changing and
Mandela effects happening could make someone go a little crazy. And I think that's what it's talking about. I really believe that. And, but I've come to find comfort in that because, I'm enjoying the adventure that I'm on and all of the magical synchronicities that I've been shown throughout it. And so it's good. That's all I can say.
Well, you brought up Logan from Decode Your Reality, and one of the things that amazes me is it seems like no matter where he goes and looks, he finds these connections, right? And it's like things that aren't even related. Like, let's just go see if we can find something that seems to be connected, and then you find these connections. It leaves you kind of scratching your head.
Yeah, I
So,
love it.
how did you come across looking into the coordinates, the GPS coordinates,
Oh my
to
gosh.
find these synchronicities here? Explain what we're looking at here.
All right. So, and I'm, okay. I go on Safari one day to look something up online, and my Facebook was logged in, which I can never get into Facebook. I got kicked off Facebook kind of a long time ago. I can only get on there very once in a while by swiping someone's notification in the email area. Sometimes it'll shoot me through, and I'll hurry and accept friend requests and respond to everybody because I know it'll be a while. Anyway, it was logged in on my Facebook, but it was on the Brimfield Mayor's website where years ago, Janie's sister was attempting to petition everyone to see if they could erect a statue of Janie. And I thought that's what he was showing me, but it wasn't, because I knew, because he kind of lets me know when I looked at her name, her last name was Oswald Ley, Ley, and I'd been studying some ley line stuff. But it made me think about Logan with these coordinates, and it made me look up the coordinates, and I found this. I was raised in Sinclair, Wyoming, so that's far from where Janie was raised, but the Sinclair coordinates are 41 north and 107 west, which the 107 is an 8. And Brimfield, where Devin was at and where Janie grew up, is a 41 also. And an 8-1, so he's got that old 8-1 showing up there. That's crazy. And then I did this, and I freaked out. So the next one, I was born at St. Mary's Hospital, a couple miles from the Queen Mary, which is cool to note. But anyway, I always have that 33, like my birthday and my name adds up to 33. But anyway, so I was on the 33 north and the 118 west. And I was born there, and Janie died on the 34th north and the 118 west. So this is what I'm talking about could it be that with his death on that particular ley line, maybe locked in something? I just feel like I'm onto a little something. I wish Chris would have time to watch all this Anatra. I feel like he would be interested in that, but I know he's really busy and stuff. But okay, so here comes my favorite part of the show. Okay, so because my kids were so into this song, and I was so into this song, and it was just really a big part of our life. What happened was this 1990 live version is like the one that we play all the time in the car and stuff like that, and my kids are really attached to it, and the 9 and the 9 equals 18. So I'm like, 118, this is the one that he's wanting me to reverse, because again, I always get a feeling of what he wants me to do. And when I reversed it, I couldn't believe it, because I feel like, and I'm going to say this in a minute when I read the thing, but I feel like he was talking about now, the things going on. Every time I find something, it's for right now. Just like when I found the thank you for the Leak Project and this audience, it's like now. I find it in the right time. Well, what was going on now is all of the things that were going on in the last couple of years. And also there's a lot of things going on with like a bunch of rappers and stuff, and what happened with Michael Jackson, all those kind of things going on. And I believe that he's talking about what's going on now, the fame and the love of his family. So I'm going to go ahead and read that to you, what I put at the beginning of my video.
Now, this is really cool, because the guy who made the reverse speech app, David Oates, You
Yeah.
actually got to talk to him and share this information with him. I just wanted to mention that because a lot of people who are
did.
fans of David Oates would love to hear that. So sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I'm trying to remember why I called there. I think I was having trouble finding a good email for him, but there was like a phone number, and I called and he answered. And I was like, wow. And I got to tell him about it and email it to him and everything. So that was super cool. It was like kind of talking to my hero, you know? Yeah, that was neat. Anyway, so according to David Oates, that's the reverse speech guy. Reverse speech can reveal the true emotions and beliefs of a soul, what the subconscious is really saying. I believe that Jani was expressing his beliefs about the world today, now, and fame and the love of his family. Only my opinions and my decipher through my own filter. I invite all Jani Lane fans to decipher his lyrics and see what you find. Messages for you here and now. And I also want to say that his daughter covered this song just maybe in the last couple of years. And it's not Taylor, it was Maddie. She covered the song. And interesting, you're going to see in this video, I took a tiny clip of hers. It's the exact same song, and it has totally different words. So, yeah. So, this is my biggest project, Heaven, that I'm so proud of, and the messages in this are beautiful. And remember, it's just their thoughts, what it's trying to say. So, some of it might seem jumbled at times, but the messages seem to be clear.
Right. You had also mentioned, I know you mentioned on Leak Project, but you were talking about the hero's journey and how we're all sort of I think you mentioned we're all the star of our own show earlier on the star card, but
Yeah.
It's almost like the hero's journey, like the role of Jesus Christ, and how we all have that ability, right?
Right. And also, even in the Michael Jackson thing, if they watch that video, the Michael Jackson interview I did with you, there was that cartoon that was all about the hero's journey that Michael had written himself before he died.
Absolutely. Let's roll it. This is awesome, you guys.
It's my thing. I just wanted to say really quick that this is that Heaven song reverse, and I titled it Nevaeh Reversed. So it's reversed, but it's also reversed because it's different verses. Okay, sorry.
So much evil I want to stand wide. And
Go to the next slide. Beautiful. I love it. My prized work.
Awesome. So that was amazing. Let me get back to the slide.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to explain that when I did Madison's, I literally just started it backwards to see what I could find. And when I heard her say all that, you know, and I just flipped it and it went back and played the end of the song, and it was so beautiful. I did all that in just one little take on my little speaker recording. But so he died he was born 2/1/64 and died 8/11/11 in room 118 of this Comfort Inn. And now it has changed to, if you noticed, next slide.
Oh, sorry, I was clicking on the wrong screen.
So I put Jani Lane Descended 8/11/11 in room 118, and it's now called the 818 Ascend Hotel.
What are the chances, right?
Beautiful. And this is what makes me firmly believe that because he had that note in his pocket that said, I am Jani Lane, that he flipped the script. And I believe that he raised the frequency. It's, you know, that's right there in around Hollywood and Burbank and all that stuff.
And the 818. And that's funny. It's like you get all the ones and the eights, and he died in the 818.
Yeah.
In room 118 on 81111. You know what I'm saying?
It's remarkable.
Mind-blowing.
I'm going to tell you, too, like, I really believe that, you know, it's coded with numbers, and we have birth dates, we have death dates, we have zip codes, we have area codes, you know, we have addresses, we have driver's license numbers, social security numbers, all of these things that just show that there's something going on with these numbers. When you see things like this, there's got to be something there. And this was all on the 118 coordinate also. That's another big thing to mention.
Wow, yeah,
now,
yeah.
Let me bombshell everybody and say that he was born around Akron, Ohio in Broomfield. He died around Los Angeles, okay?
So where was he buried, though?
His remains are in Dallas, and I have a story with this. So me and my kids went to a virtual reality thing in the mall in Dallas. And when we were leaving, we had two phones. The one was playing music. The other one was we were using for the maps because I get nervous driving in Dallas and everything. And my phone kept triggering. And I swear, my daughter is my witness. She'll tell y'all. It kept saying over and over, probably like 30 times, there's a hazard on Lyndon B. Johnson. There's a hazard on Lyndon B. Johnson. There's a hazard on Lyndon B. Johnson. And I was like, I don't really care about history, but let's just put it there and say, once Kennedy was out, Lyndon B. Johnson came in. Someone else told me this. I don't really know a lot about history, but I will say this. Jani, he came right then. It was like, Google where my remains are. Google where my remains are. Well, by the time I got it from him and I typed it in, where it was at and what it said, and I was like, how far is it from where we're at? It was literally 17.7 miles from where we were at on the road. It's literally 17.7 miles from downtown Dallas, where this JFK incident
More
occurred.
connections.
And it was probably 18, but it took me a minute to get it and type it in. Crazy.
Let's go on to, sorry, let me share.
Why would he be in Dallas? It's just so...
I don't know. That makes you wonder, I don't know, was JFK buried in California or something?
I don't know. I have no idea.
You got to wonder at this point.
And when we come back, circle it back around to Janus, I do want to say that there is on each pole of the earth or whatever. I know some people believe that it's flat and stuff, and it kind of looks like it from the stuff I've been studying. Point is, on each end around Antarctica and all those kind of things, there's a Janus island. So again, you've got this little pole thing, right? Like one end and the other end. And again, he's the God of beginnings, endings, keys, gates, transition, time, duality, doorways, passages, portals, all of those kind of things. And I would like to give a shout out to Paul of What the Flock TV right now, because I learned all my stuff about Janus from him and all the big stuff. And of course, like I mentioned before, Julian Barber that wrote the book, The Janus Point. And like I said, he's looking forward in time, backward in time. And even Logan was speaking of a comedian and recommended this comedic video. And I went to it, and that guy, I actually watched it, and he was so funny. I clicked on another random one out of many. And he was talking about how he was making the joke that the Christians won, because everything is based on AD and BC, forward in time and backward in time. And he was joking, he's like, back then, they're like, what year is it? Oh, it's 3, but I'm 28. He's like, well, then that would make you 24, because this one is 0, this point 0 or whatever. And that's when I started realizing, wow, that 0 point, that Janus point, I think that's the area of neutrality and creation. And if your emotions aren't swinging to the left and swinging to the right, and they're kind of in control, and you can be in that comfortable state and create without judgment and things like that, that's kind of how it all works. And wrapping it all up with, I came across this synchronistically. They have a company called Janus Motorcycles. This is a bandana you can buy. That's interesting, because Jani did like bandanas. It was the 80s rock star. But anyway, we're going to go back to the Bandersnatch information in a way, because this says choose your own adventure at least 4 days per week. And it's got this, you can see the JL on there, kind of Jani Lane, but that's for Janus. It's got the 2 things pointing both ways. And then the little heads are up
almost
there.
Almost like angel wings, too, isn't it?
Yeah, right? Yeah. But let's just say that the conclusion that I've drawn from all of this stuff, which let's put it this way. I could have probably just came up straight to that. But it's been a fun ride discovering all this stuff and everything. But I think that we kind of choose our own adventure.
Yeah, here is the emblem there, and when we compare it to this one that we were talking about earlier, you can really see just how similar they are. The Jani Lane one with
Right?
the Janice, showing you
Yeah.
forward and
Yes. Yes.
backwards. So, man, there's so many synchronicities. This has really been a fun ride for you, and it's still really unfolding, isn't it?
It is. I get something new every day. In fact, I'll just go ahead and show this on the screen really quick because, a lot of people, I don't know. I just think this is an interesting thing to note right now. I'm just observing. I'm not going to take it negative right this second, but this is a picture of my reverse speech app. If you notice the cogs in the head, right? Well, accidentally, I noticed on a Jani Lane fan site that someone had said, does everybody remember this debauchery or whatever, the Golden Gods Award, Jani won. This was in 2014 on April 26th, 2 and 6s and 8. But anyway, so when they accidentally didn't put him in warrant, it says on here, Jani Lane was a member of Motorhead. And I'm like, whoa. And with my little reverse speech thing having that cogs on it like a machine kind of, and then Joseph, lost his job to a machine on that last song, and it just keeps coming in. This came in before I even had time to submit it for the show or anything, but I just keep getting stuff all the time. But I really do love the Golden God Award. But yeah, that's insane right there. Interesting, huh? I hope y'all had fun listening to my story.
Yeah, it was a long synchronistic ride. But I'm glad you documented it because, so many times we have so many things like that, but we forget the little details. And the fact that you've been screenshotting it and really paying attention and really fitting the pieces together in such an
dot queen.
It's been amazing.
But yeah, and I just there was something I was gonna say, but now I've drawn a blank. But
well,
anyway.
while you're doing that, I want to remind everybody that you can check out the Michael Jackson video that we did 4 years ago to really get into more of that story. If you haven't heard it, it is really
beautiful.
An incredible story. And I love the fact that you guys, the three of you, Michael Jackson, Jani, and you, have all been connected through sort of healing a lot of childhood trauma and helping other children to deal with it. It's beautiful.
There's a lot of more synchronicities too, like the fact that I work in recovery, and a lot of these people had substance abuse issues, but I believe that they're angels just trying to cope in this reality, and so they do turn to substances sometimes. And I firmly do believe that, and also that I mean, there was just so many synchronous. I won't get into. They're on the Michael Jackson thing. The things that Robert Wagner, that wrote Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming, sent me a thing to fill out, because I was wondering why I'm having these Michael Jackson things, and all of a sudden I had so many things in common with him that I never even believed, because he's like, when you think you're done, write more, and it was like, wow, crazy. Not to the extreme that he had it, but on a lower level,
Yeah.
So these are kind of my spirit guides, and I don't want people, I know I'm saying that Jani's kind of, I wrote on Reddit that he was Christ-like in nature, but I think all of us have Christ consciousness. We're all Christ-like in nature, and I just think that that's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I guess that wraps it up. We're at about 2.5 hours, so I'm glad we got to do this more justice by spending a little bit more time, because there's so much to take in, and so easy to miss little details.
Right, we were finding stuff as we go. It happens every time. Yeah,
right, but I think other people are dealing with this. They've got their whole complete different story, but I mean, seeing this, they know they're not crazy. They're like, wow, okay, so all of the signs and I think it's all showing us, little pieces of our path. Yeah. And even with the two things that we had that sort of overlapped with the warrant and the Warren Commission, you can really see how the cogs of the wheels are all connected, and you can find the connections between us as well. So
maybe that's what that little message that I just got was, because I mean, my mind can go on that and think it out, it out wrong. But that's the thing, you get to choose how you view stuff.
Oh,
and
totally.
That's what's Because if your perspective is positive, you're going to have a more positive experience on your adventure.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring up, I was like re-listening to the I Am Discourse playlist, and it covers so much of what we're talking about, you know, and how our thoughts really guide our reality in so many ways. And after re-listening to that, I'm like, oh, that's where I learned it, you know. It's like, because you can hear stuff but not learn it for a long time. But the I Am Discourse is perfect to like return to time and time again, because it's just a great reminder, you know, of the sovereignty we do have and the control we do have over our own reality.
Point out that it's 8:08 p.m.
8:08.
That's the only time I looked at the time, actually. It's interesting.
That's beautiful.
And then the Lake Project interview was today, part 1, and it was on 12/9/2022. If you add up all those numbers singly, it equals 18.
Yeah.
So I just see this it plays out all the time with me.
Yeah. I love that. It's exciting. Keeps things exciting, and then sharing it lets other people know to keep an eye out if they haven't already been noticing things, or you're not crazy if you have been noticing stuff. So definitely check out the links in the description below. You can go check out Nevaeh over on Bella's channel, and you can subscribe if you haven't already. And you have other content over there. Plus, you're going to be uploading other content, even this video. I think you should probably put over there.
Yeah, we'll
nice to have it.
Time.
Big shout out to Rex at Leak Project for hosting us today. That was so much fun to finally meet him. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Rex, for believing in me.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So thanks for having me with you today. I really appreciate that, Jerry.
Oh, thank you for helping me with all that stuff, like the PowerPoint stuff and everything. Thank you so much. This means so much to me.
No problem at all.
Thank you to the audience, because I know a lot of y'all know me, and thank you for your support and kindness.
Yeah.
Love everyone. I hope Gene watches this.
Yeah, and we'd love to read the comments, guys. So please, if you have your experience, you know, you want to go into it and share, or any synchronicities that may be aligned a little bit with what we were talking about, please do comment below. We'd love to hear from you and just see the connectedness of all of this stuff, because it really is unfolding in a really, really beautiful way, you know. And I think that's kind of what they're trying to distract us from out there, right?
Right. Exactly. It is.
So lots of love. Bye-bye, everybody. Lots of love, light, and unity. We'll see you in the next one. Peace. Thank you.